that star-spangled banner yet wave. For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order! Oh, and 1 and 2. Order! Farlock! And 1 and 2 and 3.
Please be seated.
And Farlock! And 1 and 2 and 3. Ready? Right. Hey, and 1 and 2. Right shoulder. Oh.
Once again, welcome to Joint Base Meyer Henderson Hall and this evening's performance of Twilight Tattoo.
I pray one day I'll study war no more. Till that day I keep my mind sharp as my sword. There I go, singing the warrior song. They told me nothing in this life was free, so I battle till my people live in peace. There I go, singing the warrior song. I got that power, ain't nothing stopping me. Get stronger by the hour. Oh na na na, I got that power. King Kong got nothing on me. I'm singing, we are victorious. The Stone Cold Warriors salute. 2,000 soldiers standing on the front line. For the price of freedom, we will gladly give our lives. There I go, singing my warrior song. I got that power, ain't nothing stopping me. Get stronger by the hour. Oh na na na, I got that power, ain't nothing stopping me. I got that power, ain't nothing stopping me. Get stronger by the hour. Oh na na na, power. King Kong got nothing on me. I'm singing, we are victorious. The Stone Warriors salute.
Throughout its history, the Army has led the way in scientific research and development. One of the most significant examples of this involved the work of Dr. Walter Reed and the Yellow Fever Commission. Although not well known today, in the 18th and 19th centuries, yellow fever spread rapidly and could kill 20% of a city's population in just 2 to 3 months. However, after decades of research, no one had been able to identify the cause. In May of 1900, the Army established the Yellow Fever Commission to gather data in Cuba and appointed Major Walter Reed to lead the group. 3 physicians were appointed with him: Jesse Lazar, Aristides Agramonte, and James Carroll, Major Reed's longtime research assistant.
After the Spanish-American War, Cuba became a U.S. protectorate. With 50,000 U.S. troops stationed on the island, the fear that yellow fever would spread to the troops and then back to the U.S. mainland meant that research into the cause of the disease was a top priority for the Army. I'm Major James Carroll. I've worked with Major Reed for years trying to discover the cause of the disease. With the establishment of the Reed Commission and my colleague, Dr. Agramonte, provided us with the resources to go in a different direction.
Working with a local doctor and some volunteers, we set up a series of experiments, each pointing to infected mosquitoes as the cause. In 1901, officials in Havana instituted a mosquito control program, and in less than a year, yellow fever was virtually eliminated throughout Cuba. Similar mosquito control campaigns eradicated yellow fever in both North America and the Caribbean. In 1929, Congress officially recognized the work of the Reed Commission, and Walter Reed became a symbol for the future and possibilities of modern medicine.
Today, at the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, we conduct research for a range of medical challenges currently facing U.S. service members. Our troops serve around the world and are exposed to a variety of infectious diseases, including COVID-19. Our work put an end to the 2020 pandemic.
Developed a nanoparticle vaccine that acts as a first line of defense against new COVID variants and similar viruses that could emerge in the future. These aren't the vaccines you'll find at your local pharmacy, but our work is shared and has been a part of the many vaccines and drugs in use today. Military and civilian Army researchers work side by side. And while research supporting U.S. military operations is our focus, we've also addressed a variety of non-military medical problems that exist around the world.
The United States Army's implementation of science, communications, and technology throughout its history has driven change in American society and culture. The history of the United States Army Signal Corps can be traced back to 1861, when Congress authorized the first signal officer, and then in 1863, the Corps was officially established as a branch of the United States Army. The innovations that followed from that time include observation balloons, telegraphs, telephones, and in a short time, aviation. By 1908, the United States Army had purchased its first aircraft from the Wright brothers, who flew test trials here at Fort Myer.
Father of the United States Army Signal Corps here, I'm Brigadier General Albert James Meyer. Back in 1860, I became the first Signal Corps officer by demonstrating my new technology of aerial telegraphy, known as wigwag, a system of two-tone flags to pass messages during the day. Abbreviated patterns were used to shorten longer messages to shorter signals. It looks like my men are transmitting and receiving one such message now. I was a surgeon in the Army, but I saw the opportunities for advancement and innovation in the fields of communications. Seeing where the Army is today really makes me proud.
As a member of today's U.S. Army Signal Corps, we really have come a long way. We even bounced a signal off the moon. Today, our Signal Corps soldiers are involved in everything from setting up communications headquarters to implementing our latest technologies, the terrestrial layer system, a vehicle-based system which integrates signals, electronic warfare, and cyberspace, connecting the joint all-domain operational capable force. Keeping our soldiers lethal and safe while on deployment, we constantly innovate and push new cost-effective technologies into our operational units. We'll continue to make our founder, General Meyer, proud as we look to the future.
Just as the Army has left its mark in key medical and communication developments, Army engineers have always played an integral role during peacetime and at war, strengthening national security, energizing the economy, and reducing risks from natural disasters. From the development and construction of war-fighting needs like roads, bridges, and strongholds, to domestic infrastructure and sustainability projects here at home, like the national monuments, seawalls, dams, and energy grids, Army engineering has impacted citizens all over the globe.
As an engineer in the Army Corps of Engineers, I'm currently working on a solar power project, providing clean power and backup energy to Los Alamitos, California's hub of emergency operations. Improving the everyday lives of Americans, that's one of the reasons I joined the Army. And I wonder how early Army engineers felt about their impact in the Army.
I am Colonel Spencer Cosby. You probably went to see the Washington Monument this week and got to see sites like the Lincoln Memorial. In 1911, myself and 3 other engineer officers helped design and build the Lincoln Memorial and the White House Executive Office buildings. But as we were working on the nation's capital, other Army engineers were building up the nation in other ways.
Before World War I, most power plants in the United States were owned by private companies. Army engineers began working on the nation's waterways, creating hydroelectric power plants, canals, and dams. I'm General George Goethals, and at this time, I was sent to engineer the Panama Canal. After taking over, we completed the project 2 years ahead of schedule, thanks to the work that was done by Major Reed and the Yellow Fever Commission to keep us healthy. As an engineer, I am proud of the Army's role in growth and development. I hope that future Army engineers can continue taking care of this country and its citizens.
Through the engineering of waterways and hydroelectric dams, we are now the 5th largest power supplier in the country. After the wildfires in Hawaii, my team installed 20 generators at critical locations to help stabilize the power grid. Since March, we have been working closely with the Coast Guard to clear the channel into Baltimore Harbor and reopen the main shipping lanes. Serving as a civilian in the Army, I can help contribute to making a positive impact on the environment, my country, and the world.
While modernization has always been integral to the Army's development, military honors and traditions have shaped each soldier who has ever worn the Army uniform. The Army instills individual and collective excellence, a commitment to a strong personal and team ethic, and a set of professional values. All this is represented in the soldiers of the United States Army Drill Team. The secret to our Army's success was, is, and continues to be unit cohesion and trust. Nowhere is that more evident than in the drill team. Members of the drill team are from all corners of the United States with a wide range of career fields. They have perfected their skills and are here to share them with you today. Please feel free to cheer and applaud during their performance. Ladies and gentlemen, your United States Army Drill Team! Today, the drill team is commanded by Sergeant First Class Daniel Flores from Killeen, Texas. The drill team represents today's soldiers as well as yesterday's heroes who have proudly fought in our nation's wars and continue to serve around the world. The total Army must be ready for today, modernized for tomorrow, and strengthened by close relationships with our allies and partners. Like the drill team, we build cohesive teams that are highly trained, disciplined, and fit, who are ready to fight and win in any environment. We sustain a culture of respect, trust, and discipline where everyone takes care of each other. The louder you cheer, the faster they go. And now, the most difficult maneuver of all. The soldiers will continue to march as members from the front rank toss their rifle into the air over the formation to be caught by the soldiers in the rear rank. This is again an exercise in trust, as team members will have to put their safety in the hands of their fellow soldiers. This is the United States Army Drill Team's signature maneuver since 1958, the front to rear overhead rifle toss. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the ambassadors for today's Army, yesterday's heroes, and tomorrow's soldiers, your United States Army Drill Team. Today's Army proudly welcomes people from all walks of life who are willing to serve our country. Regardless of gender, ethnicity, or heritage, the Army offers limitless possibilities to be all you can be. Here are a few stories of courageous Americans who embody this idea.
My name is Dr. Mary Edwards Walker. In my day, a female doctor was a very rare thing. When the Civil War broke out, I felt compelled to serve, but unable to join as a doctor, I signed up as a volunteer nurse. I went wherever I was needed to treat wounded soldiers, and I also created a relief organization for the families of wounded soldiers. But I never gave up on my dream of serving as a doctor, a dream that was finally realized when in 1863 I was brought on as an Army contract surgeon. It was a long road, but it was worth it to get to help soldiers and their families.
Dr. Walker often crossed battle lines in order to care for wounded soldiers, even causing her to get arrested as a spy and sent to a Confederate jail. After the war, she was awarded the Medal of Honor, the only woman to receive it to this day. Throughout her life, Dr. Walker held an uncompromising belief in herself and repeatedly achieved things no one thought she could do. She persistently searched for ways to use her unique talents to help soldiers and improve her community. Today, the Army offers more than 200 careers, from infantry, medics, scientists, pilots, and even culinary specialists, to allow all soldiers to apply their passions while serving our country.
Things weren't always easy for me. I was raised on a farm during the Great Depression, and I lost my mother at a young age. My name is Arthur Gregg, and even though life was difficult, I tended to dwell on possibilities rather than challenges. As a young man, I saw the troops at Fort Monroe and was struck by their sharp appearance and personal conduct. That's when I knew I wanted to become a soldier. I joined the Army as a supply sergeant when it was still segregated. Despite many obstacles, 30 years later, I had risen to the rank of a 3-star general directing Army logistics operations around the world.
Our history is full of courageous Americans, just like General Gregg, who chose to serve. People like Chief Warrant Officer Mike Novosel, the son of Croatian immigrants who flew Army planes and helicopters in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And Lewis Cloud, one of 241 Yakima tribe members who fought in World War II out of a total tribal population of only 3,000. Today's Army recognizes that diversity adds strengths and broaden capabilities. We are guided by the principles that any American who wants to serve our country and is able to meet the standards should have the opportunity to do so.
Woke up to the morning sky first, baby blue just like we rehearsed. When I get up off this ground, shake the leaves back down to the brown, 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 till I'm clean. And I walk where I be shaded by the trees, by a meadow of green, for about a mile. I'm headed to town, 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 in style. With all my favorite colors, yes sir. All my favorite colors, right on. My sisters and my brothers, see you like no other. All my favorite colors. Take me to the other side. Little bitty bluebird sky. Gray walls, white clouds, blue skies. We gon' fly, feel alright. We gon' feel alright. All my favorite colors. Yes, sir. All my favorite colors. Right on. My sisters and my brothers, see them like no other. All my favorite colors. Hey, it's a good day to be, good day for me, good day to see my favorite colors. My sisters and my brothers, they see you like no other. Oh, my favorite color.
Regardless of what duties they performed, American soldiers from 1775 to the present day are ultimately focused on our Army's most basic mission, fighting and winning our nation's wars. Conflicts early in our history, the Revolution, the War of 1812, and the Civil War tested America's resolve and threatened its very existence. At the dawn of the 20th century, the United States emerged as a world power, and its army was a force to be reckoned with. As the nature of combat evolved, America's army transformed with it, ever adapting to the rapidly changing demands of the modern battlefield.
I didn't know it at the time, but I was part of what would become known as the Greatest Generation, the men and women who served in World War II. As an Army paratrooper, parachuting into Normandy on D-Day, I was too young to realize that I was part of the greatest army America had ever assembled. When the war began in 1941, the Army quickly expanded from just 200,000 soldiers to over 6 million deployed around the world. My older brother is an Army artilleryman in the Pacific. My younger brother is a bosun's mate in the Navy, and my sister's a pilot in the Women's Army Air Corps, shuttling planes from the States to England. We're all doing our part, getting the job done, taking care of each other, so we can all get back home.
I came in the Army back in 1951 during the Korean War, an infantryman trudging up and down the mountain valleys of the Korean Peninsula. Boy, have things changed. Here in Vietnam, I'm part of the 1-7 Cavalry, but we sure don't ride horses in this cav unit. For the last few years, we've been training to be the best air mobile unit in the world, riding to battles in helicopters. Not long ago, a battalion of just 450 soldiers fought a non-stop 3-day fight against 2,000 seasoned North Vietnamese regulars. It was a hornet's nest of zipping bullets, bursting grenades, and hand-to-hand combat. But we prevailed. Our soldiers were well-trained and armed, expertly led by the best junior officers and NCOs in the world. And the support that we got from our aircraft and pilots and the new doctrine paid off. Army had us ready for combat.
When I enlisted in 1974, I was one of the first soldiers to come in after the draft ended and the Army went to an all-volunteer force. Looking back, I came in at a time of unbelievable change in the Army. As an armor soldier and tank commander, I spent weeks at the new National Training Center in California, learning to fight under all conditions in what I personally believe is the greatest piece of equipment ever made, the M1 Abrams tank. When Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, the United States and our allies responded. Iraq's army, the fourth largest in the world, was well-equipped and battle-tested, having fought an 8-year war with Iran. But in just 100 hours of ground combat, we achieved a stunning victory over the Iraqi forces, liberating Kuwait and demonstrating the professionalism, dedication, and high-level training of our soldiers.
I graduated from Army ROTC and was commissioned as a military intelligence officer just a few years after the 9/11 terrorist attacks occurred. It wasn't long before I found myself deployed to Afghanistan in one of the most challenging assignments of my career as part of a female engagement team. The Army adapted to fight the war on terror, not only with the weapons and tactics it uses in combat, but also in how it connects to the local population. The 3 women on my team helped to build trust and develop enduring relationships with the Afghan women and families we met while out on patrol. Counterinsurgency operations place unique challenges on the Army, but as generations of great soldiers always have, we continually adapted to face the ever-changing situations we encounter here.
The United States Army is unequaled in its leadership and values, and its capabilities are unmatched. That leadership can be seen in places all over the globe and remains a source of pride for Americans and an inspiration to our allies everywhere. As the Army looks to 2030 and beyond, reshaping the force and establishing a vision for the future, our ability to deploy and sustain forces must remain second to none. Whether providing material and training support to allies and partners, continuing to respond to terrorist threats, or providing rapid response forces at home in the wake of natural disasters, the Army will always remain America's force of decisive action.
My name is Sergeant Gonzalez from Los Angeles, California. I lead a team of professionals who stand ready to defend our nation whenever and wherever called upon. Alongside our fellow soldiers in the active Army, National Guard, and Army Reserve, we continue the proud traditions of service to America that began even before our nation was born. My soldiers and I know that we are making a real difference each and every day. Together, with the joint force, our allies and partners, and with the unwavering support of you, the American people, we will continue to be the nation's first line of defense for another 248 years.
At this time, we would like to recognize all members of the military community and their families that have joined us here tonight by performing the songs of the armed services. When you hear your service song or that of a loved one who has served, we invite you to stand and be recognized. The United States Coast Guard.
We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Seven Apparatus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save or fight and die, High Coast Guard, we are for you.
The United States Space Force.
We're the mighty watchful eye, guardians beyond the blue, the invisible front line, war fighters brave and true, boldly reaching into space. There's no limit to our sky, standing guard both night and day. We're the Space Force from on high.
The United States Air Force.
Up we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come to meet our thunder. Adam now, give her the gun, give her the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flames from under. Up with one hell of a roll. We live in fame, or go down in flame. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force.
The United States Navy.
foreign shores we sail at break of day. A day through our last night on shore, drink to the full, until we meet once more, is wishing you a happy voyage home.
The United States Marine Corps.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, back to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
Ladies and gentlemen, now taking the field are soldiers of your United States Army. Please stand and join us in singing the Army Song.
March along, sing a song with the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's hi, hi, hey, the army's on its way. Count off, the king is out and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
It has been a pleasure for the United States Army to have presented Twilight Tattoo. Our soldiers will remain on the field and are available to answer your questions and pose for photographs. Thank you for coming out to help us honor the selfless service of American soldiers, past and present. Enjoy the rest of your evening. This will defend.
First Lieutenant Rachel Flowers. I'm part of Alpha Company 91st BB, and I'm an engineer platoon leader. Today, we're out here supporting a local high school's competition. We competed in multiple physical events, and it was really tough. It was really awesome to be out here. So today's event consisted of about a 1,000-meter run, boat, and then we had to do a low crawl under some wire, a labyrinth maze, and then we did a stress shoot and finished up sprinting to the end of the finish line. Yeah, it's a local military high school, kind of similar to a JROTC program. So these are kids that have aspirations to go into their military in the future after they graduate high school. It's really inspiring to see everyone in high school wanting to be out here. I know that this is a beautiful day and it's an awesome event. So seeing how they really rallied around each other and were supporting everyone that was competing, it was really great to see the future generation like that.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
That Sunday when I heard President Roosevelt's famous Day of Infamy talk, and I knew then what I wanted to do, just like that. I graduated from St. Luke's Hospital in 42, went into the service February 1st of 43.
My parents were Jewish. My single name was Goldberg. When the war broke out, I decided that I just had to go over to Europe, because that was what I was trained for. I just couldn't sit and be idle while all this stuff went on. So when our training was over, got on a boat and we started to cross the Atlantic. And, you know, at that time, Hitler was taking over all of Europe and there were U-boats all over the place. So we were in a convoy.
It took us 17 days to cross the Atlantic. We landed on Utah Beach the 22nd of June.
We went over 19 days after D-Day, after our troops landed in France. That's where we started picking up patients. That's where we saw so many of our landing craft go in to try to get them ashore and we were killed. It was terrible.
On our first day, we admitted 525 patients into a 400-bed hospital. The casualties were on litters laying all over the place, on the ground, you know. It was unbelievable what we managed.
So that's when we started flying back and forth from the station hospital, taking patients back to the station hospitals.
Finally, General Patton broke through the defenses around Avranches and broke through the German lines. After that, there was no stopping the man. He just kept on going.
When the war was over in Europe, I went to Marseille. Was waiting to go over to the Pacific when the atomic bomb was dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so that's when we came home.
And so I'd like to tell you the things that I will never forget. The total destruction of whole towns, nothing left but a pile of rubble. The stench of rotting flesh, human and otherwise. Then there's the wounded. They lay all about on the ground, waiting for their turn in surgery. Giving a plasma transfusion for the first time by flashlight, and having to kneel to steady your shaking legs. You do anything to keep the wounded from knowing you are scared too. You do your very best, but you feel it isn't good enough.
These young men were so amazing. And so many of them came home with such tremendous wounds. It was just heartbreaking to see what had happened.
The 34th Evacuation Hospital was a diversified group of people that got together. We learned to love and respect each other. I think we did do something towards the war effort. We don't want any honors for doing it, but we took care of 21,000 heroes in that length of time.
I think in the United States, we're in a country that essentially every one of us and our ancestors are immigrants to this country at one point at a time. For the Asians, essentially, it's unique because I think it's important for all of us to keep part of our cultural heritage. That's what kind of like reminded us where we came from and what we can do to diversify for the society we have in the United States.
Cultures, the breadth and achievement.
If there's anything in the military, I would say it's no matter it's an NCO or an officer We are giving a lot of responsibilities, but also a lot of time we are giving a lot of rooms. It doesn't matter as a PL, as a staff officer, or even as an XO. Other than the required job requirement we need to do, a lot of time it's actually time and space is for us to innovate, to make sure we can come up with a better program that is better for the soldiers, come up with things that's better unite all of us, better things that can build up the morale. So innovation has always been a huge part in the military.
I'm the Forensic Healthcare Program Manager, which means that we provide medical services as well as forensic services to victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and here at Blanchfield, we go across the lifespan. The training this last 2 days has been a one of a kind. It has not been done before within the DoD. The goal behind it is to not just have the examiners practice doing exams, but have domestic violence advocates from Family Advocacy, ACS, also from SHARP, having their victim advocates and SARCs come on board and be with us so that we can truly understand what a victim goes through when they choose to come to the hospital and seek medical care. We hope that this is a service that nobody ever has to use. But the reality is, we do have patients that do need that service. So we're glad that we're here to take care of that in a timely, compassionate, and a real thoughtful way of approaching patients. Our command here and our command at Fort Campbell believes that part of mission readiness is to make sure that we take care of these victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, getting them back on the path to where they can return to duty, return to home life as it was before, if at all possible. And that's what this training has been all about.
In 1971, Memorial Day was officially designated a federal holiday by act of Congress. It was set to be observed on the last Monday in May each year. The purpose of Memorial Day remains the same: to pay tribute to those who made the ultimate sacrifice while serving. Their sense of duty and commitment has inspired all of us for generations. Their sacrifice must never be forgotten. But we can leverage it as a positive example in our own lives. It should motivate us to be a little better, a little kinder, and for us soldiers to become highly trained, disciplined, fit warriors, and to transition as responsible and resilient members of our communities. Our fallen embody the Army values of selfless service and personal courage, and they paid the price of freedom for each one of us. It constitutes a debt we can never fully repay. As we remember the sacrifices of our brave warriors who are no longer with us, their legacy lives on. We are forever grateful for these men and women in uniform who personified our values and warrior ethos and left a lasting legacy of honorable service to our nation. And we extend our heartfelt gratitude to their families. Today, tomorrow, and every day thereafter, we will remember and we will never forget. Please continue to keep in your thoughts and prayers the many soldiers who are currently deployed around the world. May God continue to bless and protect them, and may God bless our great nation. This will defend, above the best, Fly Army.
The Ohio Army National Guard Combatives team traveled to Fort Moore in Columbus, Georgia to participate in the 2024 Lacerda Cup All-Army Combatives Tournament.
Lacerda Cup this year, it consisted of 24 teams. They all come, they're at the top of their brigade or the top of their unit or whatever they're from, and they come here and compete to be, the best. And every year we're able to come out here and have that opportunity to show what we know and what we've been training for.
The tournament has been amazing. Me and my fellow soldiers over here, we're having a great time. We're getting everything done we need to get done. And it's just nice to be able to see everyone compete and compete myself.
We're the only Ohio National Guard unit here, which is great because there's not very many people in the National Guard period that are able to come compete with a bunch of active duty units. So our team goal was to be able to take the Lacerda Cup, and then our solo goal is pretty much to take as many trophies as we can, or as many medals.
This was a great tournament. This was phenomenal. It was an awesome experience. It was a good time. First time coming out here competing, but we got to figure out how we're going to come back better next year.
In Ohio, we host a state competition, and that's to build up a team to see who's willing to come down here and compete on the national level. And to be on this team is a great experience, going to show you that you're at the top of the pyramid to be able to come down here and compete.
The team placed 7th overall, with 2 individuals taking 4th and 1st place finishes in their weight classes. The team hopes to return next year for more success in the tournament.
There's a known enemy just beyond the forward line of troops, flat. Your platoon is holding approximately 150 meters to your southwest. Given an AVAC personal weapon equipment, you must navigate from your current location to your squad where active simulator scenarios as described in the training for this mission. You have a Battalion CCP.
I'd like to describe it more as just a trauma lane, trauma assessment. You ran up on a care to fire situation where you received fire, you engaged the enemy, you destroyed the enemy, and then you treated your patient on the X in a care under fire situation, and then you moved your patient back to your CCP that you have already designated at that point, and then further treated him there. Control bleeding best I can. That's why we do a hasty tourniquet. It's as high as possible and as tight as possible on that limb. You don't check anything else. You don't sweep for blood. You don't do anything like that. You just look at them. Cool, there's blood there. Throw it on high and tight as possible, regardless of where that injury is, and you get them going.
Do I notice any obstructions in the nose and or mouth?
Nasal patches are not obstructed.
Not obstructed. Fantastic. We're going to go ahead and place bevel towards the septum, pygnose, shove it down in there. Going to go ahead and tape this up, not over the hole, making sure he can still breathe. All right, MPA is secure. Fantastic. Blood. All right, big guy, if you can hear me, go ahead, exhale, exhale, exhale. All right, looks good, looks good, looks good. Essentially, when you lose blood, you get really cold, right? Your body has less blood, keeps you warm. Blood flow keeps you warm, right? And if you have less blood flowing, colder you're going to get. Oh yeah, I've had patients before where, they went from a heat cat injury and then to a cold cat injury, and then you had to re-warm them up rather quickly. Go ahead, pull tautly. Fantastic. Drop 15 degrees, increase catheter. We're going to occlude the vein, pull a needle out, shove right there, unclude that. Weak and thready pulses for the most part. That kind of means they're starting to go into shock a little bit. They're starting to shunt, essentially. And at the end of the day, they did just get shot, so they probably lost a good amount of blood, before I was able to get that tourniquet on while I was still engaging the enemy. So that's something to just be mindful of. You want to be able to get an IV access, and then in the future, maybe push some blood products, maybe one-to-one RBCs, stuff like that. So need to be faster, a bit rusty on it, of course, working in the hospital, not really doing line medic stuff like I was doing. Need to, of course, keep up those skills, practice a little bit more, and keep up the time efficiency. So. All right, cool. Hypothermia is complete. Here, I would actually call up my 9 line, but we're not doing that.
Oh my God. Sorry. Yeah.
Time starts once we touch it. Okay. In the midst of that, we'll receive contact, which says go to your lanes. Okay. See a target out there. Engage it. Let's go, sir. Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, good. Let's go. I need a security in the front. We have security in the front. Where's my security in the front? Come on. Keep coming. Don't stop. You're almost there. Good start. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Stop. Here we go. Let's let her carry.
Get those feet up. Get those feet up. There you go.
Right. Down. Move. Up. Overhead. Press. Move. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
You on that side holding?
Yeah, we're good. Good. Got it.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hey, let's pick up. Pick up. Let's go. Watch the rocks. On those rocks, sir. Got it. You're good. You're killing it, sir.
Keep going, keep going. Three, two, one. Lift. One more. We have to fix it. Come on, come on. You guys got this. Just one more lift. 3, 2, 1. Lift. Get up and out. All right, here we go. Go ahead, secure your gear.
That's brilliant.
Wash off my shit.
WPS stands for Women, Peace, and Security, and WPS for the United States is a national security initiative. It's basically the U.S. trying to share morals and values with our international partners, and also reflecting within ourselves to improve women, peace, and security by promoting the different lines of effort we have, which is promoting women, having women be a part of security, and having women be promoted in our international partnerships with other countries. So we do that by, again, sharing our morals with other countries. Ghana has been a great example of communicating with some of the leaders, kind of striving for women and peace and messaging through these different exercises. So almost all exercises have women, peace, and security element or as an objective, and Flintlock is no exception to that rule. So during Flintlock, we've done a two-pronged thing. So earlier, we did at one of our conferences, we had a seminar for women, peace, and security with a lot of the male leaders of the different African nations and international partners, which we spoke about what is women, peace, and security, how the funding can be used to advocate and kind of promote security and be a different way of tackling some of the issues countries face. And so this is the second part of it where we actually put that into fruition. We use funding to kind of do community building, and we have our international partners here along with the Ghana Armed Forces to kind of represent the military and the communities, interlocking morals and kind of striving for security. So today we conducted kind of a community building exercise where the community came together to do trash and pollution pickup, and we kind of helped promote and helped clean up the community and donated brooms, shovels, trash bins, recycling bins for the overall message of peace and kind of cleaning up the community. I think the turnout was amazing. We had obviously so many soldiers that wanted to be a part of this from the international and from our own U.S. side, and the community showed up at large. I want to say there was over 200 people here today, just doing the cleanup, just promoting the message, and also getting the schools involved and seeing the children come out and be ambassadors for what we're trying to do here. I think it turned out really well. I think seeing the children was my favorite part of the day. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. In another life, I could have been a part of this community. So it's amazing to see that the young girls, the men, the women are all promoting the same thing and caring about their community, because in a different life, I could have been here, and it's nice to see that it's being taken care of. So in the future, we try to do this with every country the U.S. is partnered with. So we have another seminar in Kenya. We have a lot of extra exercises that are coming up where we'll have a WPS flavor. Like I said, WPS is an international U.S. objective, and every exercise has WPS in it. So there's more to come, and I think the more we put the message out, the more we can show people how important it is to use the funding of WPS and use the message to tackle VEOs and other issues of security in a different light, in a different way. I feel fantastic being a part of WPS. I am a strong advocate for it, and obviously parts of my life are completely tied to WPS. I wouldn't be the captain I am here today. I'm African American, I'm from the US, I'm a woman. So it's a real strong message for me, because if people didn't care about that, I wouldn't even be here. So I'm a strong advocate for helping it continue to be a pillar, for promoting people to have the idea that they also can be a part of the solution like I am. I would look forward to coming back to Ghana and seeing a continued progression, continued growth, and being a part of the solution, working with this organization, working in this community. Like Queen Barissa has been saying in her messaging, we would like to see less cases of health issues, more cases of people having continued support and continued the ability to kind of help themselves grow. And that's kind of what my hope is for the future, that the U.S. comes, but the community itself can grow without us. The only thing I want to add, WPS is a very good opportunity. A lot of people see it as just the women, peace, and security part, but it's a holistic effort. We're trying to not hit just the women and the children. We're trying to hit the community as a whole, trying to promote a good example like fishing and like education, and trying to get people different ways of building up the community, between getting the military and the community to bond, kind of like something you would see here today and like other projects that have gone on. So that is kind of my message. There's a lot to WPS, and I think if more people were educated on it, they would see the benefits.
We actually have an evaluation by Army North, and so we're doing our collective lanes training here. So we have a scenario here with local EMS and first responders and fire, and basically going through a hazmat scenario that typically what we would see in a real world situation. Collaborating with our civilian entities, build those bridges between us all to kind of work together to kind of collaborate on what we can do as a team and what we can do for them, and just to kind of help each other train to work through these scenarios.
My main focus is to make sure that our equipment is ready and capable, and that we're focused on the correct samples downrange. Our job can range from federal level to state level with practices in crime scene preservation.
We have a very good working relationship with local state lab department, and we'll be actually set up as backup for them as well, and especially during times like COVID and whatnot, to kind of bring what the CST can provide to the table.
It's important, especially first responders, if they run into a situation that they aren't able to identify certain things, they can call on us, and as well as federal level agencies like Department of Energy, environmental protection agencies, and things like that.
Sergeant Major Amy Brown. I'm the Army Public Affairs Center Sergeant Major, the VI proponent Sergeant Major. No matter what, speaking from a public affairs lens and now VI as a public affairs capability is bring trust, not just to the American people, but inside each organization. And what I think people lose sight of sometimes is that visual information, to me, the ComCam, it's a forensic accounting of what we do. So it's a record. If those things are brought or asked for in like a FOIA request, that we have a correct documentation of what actually happened. I know that gets after some of the mis and dis propaganda things that we fight. So we are a bringer of truth and light, I think, in those organizations. And when we're feeding that up to combatant commanders, I mean, we're the land power force of this nation. And as part of information assurance, what we're hoping for is decision-making dominance for those commanders, because part of our competition and crisis moments are like, we need to make the fastest decisions because people that are on that battlefield with us have similar capabilities. So if we're mechanically matched, you know, our decision-making process has to be better than anybody else on the field. So if I'm feeding you real-time information through a camera lens or video lens, then I'm giving that combatant commander on the ground or wherever he's at the ability to make the best, fastest decision on the battlefield. And that, to me, is what ComCam really is getting after. Soldiers that are going to succeed in this MOS, and probably MOSs across the Army, one, you have to find whatever is that intrinsic drive inside of you. What makes you want to get up every day? And I always tell soldiers, like, we're not putting on loafers and tennis shoes to go to work every day. You're lacing up a combat boot. And I think in my mind, like, there's nothing more like chilling than that, to say this is what my job is. So whatever you can do to find that motivation that's driving you to learn the new thing, to work a little harder, to stay at my job a little later, to mentor a soldier. I think that's important. So finding that intrinsic drive is one, to stay technically proficient. Technology is moving so fast. So if you're not willing to stay abreast of current technology, always learning, then you're going to get left behind. And you can't mentor the newest soldier that's come behind you that's already understanding how to use AI to their advantage. So that technical piece, and then tactically, I think that's what the best ComCam competition does, is remind us the Army is built for war. That's what we do. We hope for the best. We don't want to go to war, but if it happens, then we're ready. And so I think this is a really prime example of how to say that we are technically proficient, but our MOS is right there on the battlefield, tactically moving with the units around us. And so this competition embodies what we would hope our soldiers are looking for to be successful, that they come out here and show I maintain my technical proficiency as well as like being incredibly tactically proficient. So having the drive to do both of those things, because this is a volunteer event, like those are the things that are going to give you like the best advantage, the best street cred out there, and move you far along in your career field. I hope that we can move training faster to meet the needs of that converging traditional public affairs soldier with a VI that's now the PA capability. I think we spend a lot of time, and I say we, like ACPA and APEC both spend a lot of time to make sure that the VI soldiers feel very welcomed into the new career field. So I hope that we continue in 2030 that those VI soldiers understand, like, being in the public affairs realm is just a bigger and better capability. You know, we are a force that has more assets to us now. So just increasing that cohesion between the traditional public affairs and traditional VI, so that everybody understands that VI is just the capability under the public affairs umbrella, and that public affairs is also very technically and tactically proficient. They're in all those divisions and brigades, and they're moving out. And so I think we'll see efficiencies across all those formations and a better appreciation of what public affairs is bringing to the table.
Hi, I'm Chaplain Colonel Karen Meeker, United States Africa Command, based out of Stuttgart, Germany. So we've got 12 on our U.S. delegation, chaplains and 1 senior religious affairs specialist, plus 2 public affairs officers. And we're here to engage with our colleagues, chaplains from Zambia, our hosts. Chaplain General Matafeo has been so gracious to invite us down for this engagement. And he also invited chaplains from across Southern Africa. We have with us this week chaplains from Botswana, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Namibia, and of course, many from Zambia. The demands on our service members are so great. All our service members, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guard, Space Force Guardians, they all make sacrifices in order to serve the purpose of freedom and peace around the world. And their families make sacrifices as well. And so chaplains, we're here to support them. We learn from each other, coming from different backgrounds and experiences, different theological perspectives, our educational backgrounds, and we bring all of that together in order to collaborate, in order to share best practices. That's really important because we can do more together. And then we as chaplains, we love to meet people and build relationships. So those building of relationships are helpful so that we can get things accomplished on behalf of our nations and our armed forces. And also, we take care of each other. And that's part of being in that collegiality of chaplains. We often are doing those very difficult operations, if you will, where we're meeting people in their most dire situations. We're going with them on deployments, in the combat. Name a mission, and you've got a chaplain there. Chaplains are there when we have a fallen comrade, when there's the wounded. But we're also there when there's triumphs, life's greatest triumphs, a birth, a marriage, a graduation, a promotion, a retirement. And so for us to come together as colleagues, we can share those experiences, and it's very helpful and healthy for us.
Good morning. My name is Bernie Sprudy. I am a Transition Assistance Program representative for the Transition Assistance Program. We are here this morning at the Centennial Banquet and Conference Center on Fort Bliss, Texas, where we are holding our annual Transition Expo. The Expo, it's a 2-day event. Yesterday, we started off with some workshops in the morning where we did resume review. We did some interviewing skills, personal pitches, things like that. In the afternoon, we had a career skills program panel discussion and some industry briefs as well. Today, this morning, we are holding our hiring fair. We have over 140 employers and service organizations representing all industries from across the entire country. Doesn't matter whether you're a transitioning service member, a veteran, a retiree, a dependent, a spouse, got all kinds of jobs available. Many of these employers have vacancies. Well, all of them have vacancies, but many of them are hiring on the spot. If you can't make it today, we hold a weekly job fair at the intersection of Custer and Carter Road every Tuesday from 9 to 11 a.m., where many of these same employers are there as well. Check us out on Facebook at Fort Bliss Transition Assistance Program, where you can find us there.
This event here, we collaborated with Yano for the Commander's Cup for Sexual Assault Awareness Month for April. It's not just in April that we should be talking about the awareness and prevention of sexual assault. So it's really important to bring the community together so that we can have awareness and for prevention of sexual assault.
Getting people involved in SHARP can be kind of a struggle sometimes. And so when we do these sports events, it just brings everybody out, everybody together, and everybody is in the same environment so we can get the message out. So that's what the sports is all about.
Oh, I think it's been an awesome event so far. The weather's been great. People have come out, they're cheering for one another. So a lot of bonding going on.
Event is going fantastic. Ahmed's doing pretty well too.
I brought out an outreach table today with promotion items to bring awareness of the 24-hour hotline number for Camp Salma. You just don't know when you're going to need it, or if a friend or a battle may reach out, and at least people would have it.
We are all about the victims' rights, and that's what we're here for today. And so, no wrongdoer is my biggest message that I can get out to the community.
You know, we're here together as one team, just to bring awareness of sexual assault, and also that we work well as a team, as a community.
This hearing on the Department of Energy Atomic Energy Defense Programs and Department of Defense Nuclear Weapons Programs of the Armed Services Committee, Subcommittee on Strategic Forces will come to order. And I want to thank our witnesses for appearing here today and for their service to our nation. I first want to welcome Admiral Houston, our 8th Director of Naval Reactors, to the subcommittee, and we look forward to hearing from you over the next 8 years. Thank you, Admiral. Congratulations. Today's hearing consists of 2 panels to review the budget request for defense nuclear activities at the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense. We're undertaking now our 3rd era of nuclear modernization. The first 2 were conducted in 1960 and 1980, mainly in a situation of competition with the Soviet Union. However, now we face 2 heavily nuclear-armed near-peer competitors, Russia and China. More than ever, we're relying on modernizing our triad to perform the deterrence mission which is the bedrock of our national security strategy. This year, we were informed that there is a Nunn-McCurdy breach of the Sentinel ICBM replacement program. General Bossier, I will want to know how your command is investigating this issue. Administrator Ruby, pit production costs continue to climb at the Savannah River plant, and I look forward to your telling us how you're tracking and working on containing them. And Mr. White, you perhaps have the toughest job of all, managing the largest liability of the federal government, which in 2023 was estimated at $531 billion. I want to know what you are doing to work your way through this backlog of cleanup, and whether there are less costly methods to dispose of some of the tank waste at Hanford while still meeting our commitments to the state and to the environment. Because we have 2 panels, I would appreciate if you could make short 2 to 3 minute opening statements. We'll have 5-minute rounds of questions. Again, welcome to the committee. Thank you for your service. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today. Our nuclear deterrent underpins our entire national security strategy, and it must remain safe, reliable, effective, and credible. We face 2 peer nuclear adversaries for the first time in history. While our current nuclear weapons and delivery systems meet the threats of today, I am increasingly concerned that our planned force posture for the 2030s and beyond will be insufficient. We need to start laying the groundwork today to set the conditions for success in the future. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses on both panels on the progress being made with current programs of record and what additional resources or authorities are needed to accelerate that progress. I would also like to note that last year's report from the bipartisan strategic that I believe had an excellent framework for our entire nuclear enterprise. The Restoring American Deterrence Act that encapsulates many of these recommendations. I look forward to working with all of our panelists over the coming months as we seek to implement some of those changes. Thank you again for joining us today, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Administrator Ruby.
Well, thank you, Chairman King, Ranking Member Fisher. It's a pleasure to be here to present the President's fiscal year 2025 budget request for the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration. In today's complex and dynamic security environment, NNSA is delivering. Last year, we provided the Department of Defense over 200 modernized weapons on schedule. Our nuclear nonproliferation and counterterrorism programs are advancing technologies and partnerships that are responsive to today's global environment. We are preparing for the future by revitalizing our infrastructure and staying at the cutting edge in select science and technology. NNSA's FY 2025 budget request of $25 billion reflects these priorities. The nuclear weapons program of record has grown from 5 to 7 systems to be delivered or in active production within the next decade. This request supports all those systems with the exception of SLCM-N, just due to the timing of the 2025 budget request and the FY 2024 NDAA. However, NNSA is fully committed to fulfilling the SLCM-N requirement. These 7 systems represent modernized weapons for all 3 legs of the triad and the new capabilities responsive to today's security environment. Additionally, the request supports 2 phase 1 studies to prepare to meet future deterrent needs. To deliver this demanding schedule, NNSA is prioritizing infrastructure investments to get needed capabilities completed on time, while also pursuing a longer-term strategy of a responsive, flexible, and resilient enterprise. High priority projects include the PIP production facilities at Los Alamos and Savannah River and the uranium and lithium processing facilities at Y-12. Our defense nuclear nonproliferation activities are also responding to today's global dynamic and anticipating the future. In summary, NNSA is holistically supporting nuclear deterrence and strengthening relationships with our allies and partners. There's a lot of work ahead, and we appreciate your support. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Chairman King, Ranking Member Fisher, distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Your support for the naval reactors enables my team to design, operate, and maintain a globally deployed force of submarines and aircraft carriers that reliably and consistently carry out our national security missions around the world. Today, the U.S. Navy's nuclear power warships are operating alongside our allies and partners in hostile regions, providing forward presence and safeguarding stability in a world that is increasingly tense. Our global presence continues to be supported by strong allies and relationships. Through the AUKUS agreement, the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia have demonstrated a trilateral commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific region while expanding the reach and effectiveness of all 3 nations' military forces. Naval Reactors has delivered the advanced technology that provides our fleet competitive edge in the maritime environment through investment in research and development in the past decades. Our talented people, our peerless technology, and our state-of-the-art facilities give us the ability to operate submarines and carriers wherever and whenever we choose. We must step up this investment if we want to sustain and exploit that advantage. My budget request for fiscal year 25 is $2.12 billion and invest in each of the following 3 areas and 2 priority projects. First, my request supports our most important resource, our people. The talented and dedicated people within the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Enterprise are essential to the management and oversight of the important work we perform for our nation. Second, the budget reflects continued investment in R&D of technology to support our current and future fleet, to substantially lower costs, reduce construction timelines, and add fleet capability. Finally, my requests focus on investment to modernize the critical infrastructure throughout our 70-plus year Department of Energy laboratories and address our legacy environmental liabilities. I'm also seeking your continued support for 2 national priority projects. The first, continued development of the reactor plant for the Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine, directly supporting the Navy's #1 acquisition priority. The second project is continued construction of the Naval Spent Fuel Handling Facility in Idaho, which enables long-term, reliable processing and packaging of spent fuel from the Navy's nuclear fleet. In closing, your strong and enduring support enables naval reactors to provide the nation a nuclear power fleet that is unrivaled. I respectfully urge your endorsement of our fiscal year 25 budget request. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral. Mr. White, you must have one of the toughest jobs in the federal government. Give us an update.
Thank you, Senator. Chairman King, Ranking Member Fisher, it's an honor to appear before you. The EM mission reflects the United States' commitment to cleaning up the environmental legacy of national defense programs that helped end World War II and the Cold War. While our mission is rooted in the past, we're very much focused on the future. Cleanup progress at the Savannah River site in South Carolina, for example, is leading to a greater role for NNSA there. Cleanup accomplishments are boosting the clean energy economy in Tennessee and helping the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the Y-12 National Security Complex prepare for expanding national security and research missions. As buildings like the biology complex have come down, national security and science missions have the space to be built up. The budget request positions EM to deliver on these and other priorities that drive risk reduction, progress skyline changes, and help us ramp up tank waste treatment, which is the largest part of the environmental liability that you mentioned earlier. In Washington, 800,000 gallons of tank waste have been treated at Hanford and will ultimately be stabilized in glass. The waste treatment plant melters have reached operational temperature and have been used to pour the first containers of test glass from both melters. The testbed initiative is advancing as another potential option to accelerate the Hanford tank waste mission through commercial grouting and disposal. In parallel, we've reached a breakthrough agreement with the state of Washington and the EPA that charts a safe and achievable path for the Hanford tank waste mission. The FY25 request is consistent with this agreement, which will enable us to begin addressing Hanford's high-level tank waste and achieve risk reduction while exploring alternative treatment technologies to accelerate our work on EM's largest environmental liability. By turning this corner with our regulatory partners, we hope to aggressively move forward with our mission at Hanford, honoring our responsibility to the environment and our commitment to the communities and the tribal nations around the site. Demolition efforts across EM are also moving forward. After bringing down 4 buildings at the Nevada National Security Site last year, we'll continue reducing our footprint as we work to complete the legacy cleanup there within a decade. Demolition work at West Valley in New York will advance, as well as cleanup of the highest risk excess facilities in Tennessee. This request also enables continued shipments to the waste isolation pilot plant as we modernize the facility to meet the needs of both cleanup and national security programs. While significant progress has been made, we're always looking at opportunities to improve. The budget request allows for continued improvement to the rigor of program and project management, as well as opportunities to progress cleanup safely and more efficiently. This includes technology development, targeted R&D investments, evaluation of cost-effective treatment options, and investment in building future workforce pipelines. I thank the subcommittee for its historical support of our program and our mission, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. You'll notice the Vice Chair and I are the only ones here, and I want to explain that we're hoping that someone with an AI capacity will figure out how to schedule the Senate. It's not uncommon for us to have 3 hearings scheduled at the same time, and I think that's happened this afternoon. On top of that is a vote on the Senate floor. So, but be assured, we all know these people, and they're keenly interested in what you're doing. Administrator Ruby, is Savannah River a practical project? Is it going to be able to be brought in at a reasonable time at a reasonable cost? That the numbers keep going up and the date keeps moving out. Give me an update on Savannah River.
Yeah, thank you, Senator King. I'd be happy to. In short, I would just say absolutely. It's a practical project and real progress is being made. We've done a lot of things to make this project more realizable, but the costs have gone up. I have much more confidence in the cost. I think we all have much more confidence in the cost and the time estimate to complete this. So our goal now is to complete construction of Savannah River in 2032. And then to start the process to do rate production and have that complete in 2035 or 2036.
Is Los Alamos going to be able to meet the demand that we have for pits in the meantime?
They are. So Los Alamos will be producing 30 pits per year in 2028 for the W87-1.
They're already,
That's a warhead.
one's been already produced this year, is that correct?
We have we've made pits at Los Alamos. We have not. We're going to make our first fully WR certified, War Reserve certified, diamond stamped as we call it, pit this year. But we made 9 complete pits last year plus 5 developmental pits last year at Los Alamos. So we're feeling a lot more confidence in our ability to make pits there repeatedly. We'll get our certification. We'll be on our path. We have a very, detailed schedule path for 30 pits per year at Los Alamos.
Let me change the subject. One of your areas that you mentioned is nonproliferation. One of my biggest concerns is nuclear material falling into the hands of terrorists. In an open setting, what can you tell us about what steps are underway in order to prevent that from happening? We have nuclear states, some of which are rather unstable. We have a nuclear state that seems inclined to sell things. That's the nightmare, because we've all talked about deterrence. Deterrence doesn't work with a terrorist. They don't have a capital city that is at risk, and they don't care about dying. So we're going to have to rely on nonproliferation and intelligence. But what can you tell us in an open setting about dealing with that issue?
Well, we work with everybody that we can to get rid of weapon usable material or materials that would make dirty bombs. Terrorists are usually not in that group. So what we do is we work with our allies and partners to make sure we have very strong border protection and crossing. So any illicit movement of materials, and we have, fortunately, or depends on how you think about it, but in this case, fortunately, we have allies that live in bad neighborhoods around these places where terrorist cells exist, and we have strong collaborations with them to make sure we can detect
Do we have
materials.
technology that can detect the movement of nuclear material?
Somewhat.
Again, we're in an open setting, but insofar as you can answer that question.
Yeah, somewhat. It depends on the amount, and it depends on whether or not they shield it. There's lots of details that matter, but we certainly work on those technologies, and we deploy them, frequently when we think they'll be effective and where we think they'll be effective.
I'm going to start with you, Admiral, but we'll come back in a second round. I worry about the submarine industrial base. We're barely building a submarine a year, and if you add AUKUS, I just don't know who's going to build those submarines. Is that a concern of yours, and what do we do to address it?
Chairman, obviously, construction of submarines, career submariner, it's near and dear to my heart. With the Columbia and the Virginia class, the 1+2, we have invested heavily as a Navy in the submarine industrial base to build that cadence and really helping those sub-tier suppliers that actually feed our prime shipyards to build those submarines is really key. And we are fully committed to that. And the investment on the Navy is significant.
Do your current 5-year plan indicate that we're going to have the capacity to build the submarines that we hope to? For my naval reactors hat on my DOE side, absolutely. And for the Navy side right now, we are progressing on a plan to get to 2.0 by 28 and 2.33 by 32, which corresponds to the time that we would be delivering the first submarine purchased by Australia. That's going to take some serious workforce.
It's significant work. If you look at what we have done in 2014, we were building a single Virginia, and in 2024, we're building 2 Virginias that are 25% bigger than the Virginias we were building in 2014. And we've added on top of that the Columbia class, which is 2.5 times that original Virginia. So we have increased by 5-fold the tonnage we're building on submarines in the middle of COVID, in the middle of supply chain issues, and we are progressing on that. And that is why the Navy is so invested in the submarine industrial base to improve that cadence on submarine construction, which is absolutely critical to the roles submarines play for our strategic deterrence and also in the Western Pacific.
Thank you, Admiral. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As members of this subcommittee are acutely aware, NNSA has extensive infrastructure needs. Some of your facilities date back to the Manhattan Project, and budget constraints and uneven performance on past recapitalization efforts have increased the level of risk to the nuclear enterprise. Administrator, can you provide this committee with an update on the ongoing capital asset projects, particularly the new facilities planned for the processing of the critical minerals?
Thank you, Senator Fisher. We do have a lot of infrastructure projects underway. Our strategy is to finish, is to start getting them done and then start new ones, as opposed to start them all at the same time. And so we've been very stringent on our prioritization of these facilities, and we're doing this for reasons. One, we need them. So we need them to get our weapons done. And the second thing is it's cheaper if you can get them done than if you just continue to drag them out. We've seen cost increases as a result of that just by keeping people on roll that might not be at their full capacity. So we have a plan to get projects finished. Now, with respect to critical minerals.
Can I ask you what the priority is on the facilities, which one you're prioritizing? Some do similar minerals, obviously, but most of them are doing different ones.
Right. So our highest priority is PIP production. So the two facilities, one at Los Alamos and one at Savannah River. The other facility that we're pushing towards completion is the uranium processing facility at Y-12. And the next most crucial facility from a single point of failure perspective is our lithium processing facility at Y-12. In addition, we have high explosive facilities underway, which are also critical to be able to produce the weapons that we have lined up.
Did you want to give us, did you want to finish your first comment when I interrupted?
Well, I just think that I wanted to say more newer to our discussions, the fact that we broke ground on the lithium processing facility. And this facility.
Is that at Y-12?
That is at Y-12. It replaces a very old and facility that has some serious both safety and structural issues. And so we'll be talking about that in the years ahead. And I think it's also to the point that Senator King made earlier, to get these PIP production facilities done is going to require is going to require higher investments over shorter periods of time. So you don't see that in the FY25 request too much, but I think it's coming in out your requests.
Thank you. Administrator and Admiral, between the AUKUS agreement and the possibility that we're going to need to increase the number of planned hulls for Columbia class, Virginia class, or SSNX submarines, how are we managing the increased demand for the highly enriched uranium for the naval reactors? Do we need to put plans forward for any new enrichment facilities?
The highly enriched uranium supply is projected to last to the 2050s, even with these increased demands. We are well aware of it. Naval Reactors is working very closely with the NNSA and DOE because, as you know, we're currently getting our highly enriched uranium from older nuclear weapons that we're reprocessing. So it's something that has our attention. We have to develop a plan to do that, and we're watching that very closely. The increased demands from AUKUS, we've looked at that. It's very, very small in the overall scheme. The bigger thing is that we have to get the capability in time to support about 2 to 3 metric ton delivery to support our fleet needs in the 2050s. And we're working very close.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Admiral, I visit the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard fairly regularly and always climb down in a submarine that's under overhaul. By the way, I flunk the virtual welding test every time. Keep trying, but it's very difficult. Anyway, are you doing any thought in your design to accelerating the overhaul process? I'm concerned about availability of these very expensive assets and how much time they have to spend in dry dock. Are there, for example, Senator Fisher and I were in Minot, North Dakota, and we went down into the missile field, and the old missiles, you've had to practically take them all apart to get to some of the pieces that needed maintenance. Is this something that you think about in the design of the submarines in order to get them in and out of overhaul on a more accelerated timetable?
Yes, Senator Governor, and we commissioned the main up in the shipyard. It's one of our leading submarine shipyards there. Site. I will tell you, we from the nuclear are doing everything we can to expedite those. We play a part in the submarine overhaul, large portion of it. We are working with our INC to do a once in the life of the ship upgrade on that. We have a very robust design on that. We are looking at maintenance activities such as our media discharges to do a once in life, and we are pushing technology. We have invested heavily in additive manufacturing because from a naval reactor standpoint, I own both the technical requirements and I also own the financial levers to pull, and I'm actually leading the way for NAVSEA, and I have components now that are being additively manufactured that are going into our primary plants, our plants, to lead the way. So we are trying to accelerate that because I see the same thing. It's more than just shipbuilding. It's that ship repair and ship sustainment.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad to hear about the additive manufacturing. My belief is that there should be a 3D printer on every ship and in every hangar, and that we should be buying the IP when we buy a platform so that we can maintain and build parts in a much more efficient way.
I absolutely agree. The carriers do have printers on them. Some of our submarines have actually deployed with printers and have actually additively manufactured some components already for that. We need to expand that. And it's more about speed now than it is so much about the process you use. And we find with additive manufacturing that it takes, it's faster than some of the just pure casting, pouring molten metal into sand and then removing all that excess metal. Because all that work that you have to do is taking away from actual production time that you could be using for other things. And so I absolutely see it the same way as you do. And we just have to keep on leading the way.
I appreciate that, and I can't resist mentioning that the University of Maine has the largest 3D printer in the world, and last year they printed a house. So it's an amazing technology that I think is going to change everything, but it could also help us with maintenance of our naval and in fact air and armed forces assets. Mr. White, I mentioned in my opening the estimated cost of $500 billion. You mentioned in your comments looking at different technologies and techniques. Is there any hope of finding technologies that will enable us to meet our obligations, at the same time maybe chip away at that $500 billion?
Senator, thank you for that question. I absolutely think so. And I think some of them we're doing currently, and we're working with our state regulators and partners on. The agreement we just signed, I mentioned earlier, with the state of Washington will allow us to explore alternative treatment technologies for the bulk of our tank waste there, the low activity portion of that. This committee supported our test bed initiative in the past, which looks at commercial disposal and grouting options. And I think just that ability alone to deal with the low activity piece of the tank waste in that fashion would save hundreds of billions of dollars beyond just simply vitrifying the waste. There are other things we can do that this committee has supported our R&D efforts looking long range at our tank waste mission. One of the things folks don't always think about in terms of our tank is we have about 50 million gallons at Hanford. But over time, because of the way we have to retrieve the waste, we use water to retrieve it, you end up having to treat about 150 million gallons of waste because you have to create more waste as you retrieve what's there to be able to treat it. Part of our R&D effort that we just awarded this past year, for example, is going to our laboratories to look at alternative retrieval technologies so that we can reduce the amount of water that we have to use in retrieval to ultimately be able to reduce the amount of tank waste that we have to treat. So I think there are opportunities like that across the enterprise, and we're trying to take advantage of those.
Could you hazard an estimate as to when Hanford will be done?
I can give you an estimate, Senator, but I can almost guarantee you that I would be wrong. I think our best case for getting done, if we can work through our technical challenges and use alternative treatment technologies, could be as early as the 2060-ish timeframe. I think if we...
2060?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's quite a...
And it could otherwise be much longer.
Keith Richards might be dead by then. I doubt it. Senator Rosen.
On that note, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for holding this hearing. It's really important. Thank you all for the work that you do. It's so important to us in Nevada, as you know, and because the Nevada National Security Site, it has been called the battlefield of the Cold War, and what was then known as the Nevada Test Site, those of us in Nevada still call it the Nevada Test Site, was ground zero for the majority of our nation's nuclear tests, where 100 atmospheric and 828 underground tests were conducted from 1951 to 1992. We know these tests contaminated our soil, our groundwater, the facilities in the area, and cleanup still ongoing. And so, Mr. White, can you please provide us an update on the cleanup projects within the security site? And do you have the adequate resources to complete the task?
Thank you for that, Senator. And I very much appreciate the support from Congress over the last couple of years in adding additional funds to our cleanup budget in Nevada. I think that's helped us in a couple of cases. We've been able to install more robust inspection capabilities for our disposal activities there, and we've been able to optimize some of our D&D efforts. Right now, we're very much focused on what I think is a historically interesting part of the site where some of the nuclear rocket work was done. So the test cells and the old facilities, they were being D&D'd. Within our current approach, we should be able to get that work done in by the 2030 timeframe.
Wonderful, thank you. And Administrator Ruby, today the site conducts those subcritical experiments to verify the reliability, the effectiveness of our nuclear stockpile so that we never ever have to return to the days of above or below ground testing, explosive testing. And so last week, this first subcritical experiment in roughly 3 years was conducted in the principal underground laboratory for subcritical experimentation, much easier to say PULSE facility. And so, can you discuss the importance of that experiment, why subcritical experiments and other experiments taking place at the Nevada National Security Site are vital to our stockpile stewardship and ensuring that we can continue to certify the stockpile without, again, ever returning to underground explosive nuclear testing?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Rosen. It's good to see you again. And we're very proud of the fact that we had a successful subcritical experiment just last week. These experiments are so important because they allow us to study actual plutonium without creating a chain reaction, right? So that's why we call them subcritical. And so we can actually look at the real material under conditions that are important to us, under very dynamic conditions. And as a result of these tests, we can make sure the aged material is still behaving as we would expect it to. We can look at newly produced materials and see if it behaves the same. And we can learn new things by our high fidelity experimental data collection. So we anticipate this is the best way to maintain our stockpile without returning to nuclear testing, especially with the demands that we have right now in our production enterprise, as well as perhaps new weapons that we need in the future to meet these changing global conditions.
Yeah, it's important that we do these. And we talk about all of our missions, and particularly our counterterrorism mission. We have another thing, not besides having the test site, we have the amazing remote sensing laboratory. I love to go out there. They're doing just wonderful things. And of course, they're both at Nevada's Nellis Air Force Base and Joint Base Andrews. They provide that emergency response capability and crisis support teams, and they are ready to deploy anywhere around the world. And the personnel at these bases, like I said, I've been out there many times, and those of the National Security Site, they're the nation's experts in locating dirty bombs, loose nukes, sources of radiation, in addition to determining origin and attribution through nuclear forensics. And so, Madam Administrator, given the critical role that both our facilities play, and the Remote Sensing Lab in particular, in our national defense architecture, can you speak a little bit about how important our Remote Sensing Lab is and the safety and security that they provide to the American people?
Yeah, absolutely. It is fun to talk to the people who work at these labs. They do amazing things in amazingly short time frames because everything they do is usually associated with emergency response. And I would just like to say that it's not only for the American people when a source goes missing or something unexpected happens in the U.S., it's also for the international community, and they've been critical in our
Do
work.
they have everything they need to continue their mission? I wanted to ask you.
I do think so. I think that to be honest, so they've had a boost because of the supplemental funding for Ukraine. They've done a lot of work for Ukraine.
Oh, I know.
So that's not in our base budget. Of course, that's in our supplemental budget. But as a result of that, we've been able to really exercise all the muscles with that team.
Well, we have the Remote Sensing Lab and the test site. Amazing teams work out there, and I'm proud to go visit them and see the good work they're doing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Fisher.
Administrator, I just have one more comment and question. First of all, I want to thank you for submitting your unfunded priorities list to the committee earlier this year. I agree with the programs that you listed, and I do believe that they warrant this committee's attention and additional funding. Would you speak to the three programs that are listed? SLCM-N, the Analytic Gas Laboratory Mission Enabling Construction Project, and then we've kind of talked in the past about the need for the binder, the production and qualification efforts for that, for the insensitive high explosives. Why do you need more resources for those?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my opening comments, SLCM-N is a very unique case in this regard that it wasn't in our program of record until the FY 2024 NDAA was passed. And at that time, we had already submitted our FY25 budget request. So the SLCM-N budget request for the unfunded requirements is for $70 million. That's an amount that we think is reasonable to do what we anticipate needing to do in that program. We're still working very closely with the DoD and the Navy to define the details of that program, but we are going to need some budget to do it. I'm going to do the binder. Let me address this binder issue. Emerging issue has come up as a result of changing environmental regulations concerning forever chemicals, that we have a binder material on our explosives that falls into this category of materials that are now being regulated very closely by the EPA. And so we need a new binder material, and we're going to work on a new binder material. But meanwhile, we also have to figure out how to get through the program of record that we have with a limited supply of this particular material, and or finding another supplier. So that's an issue that emerged after the budget was formulated. And that's why it's in. And the analytical lab is, again, just to make sure that we have all the facilities we need to make sure that we can analyze what we need to do to produce the pits that we need to produce.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you all very much. We'll have our second panel come forward. Thank you.
Houssier. He's from Vermont.
Yeah, actually, his family's in Maine.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still time.
When Senator Kelly comes, he'll probably ask Johnny Wolf, Admiral who handles nuclear programs,
Right.
about the Slickerman issue.
Yes, I know. Okay. Dr. Adams, are you leading off? You are now.
You are now.
Some short opening remarks.
Sir?
Are you requesting short opening remarks?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so Chairman King, Ranking Member Fisher, and members of the committee, it is an honor to be here before you to discuss the President's fiscal year 2025 budget request for the weapons activities portion of DOE and NSA's activities. Thanks to support from this subcommittee and the full committee and Congress in general, and the efforts of our outstanding dedicated workers across the nuclear security enterprise, we are steadily improving our infrastructure and our capabilities while we are also taking on new challenges as they arise from a worsening global security situation. The FY25 weapons activities budget request of about $19.8 billion will support our continued commitment to design, manufacture, certify, transport, maintain, and assess the safe, secure, and reliable warheads that are needed to keep our deterrent credible and effective. Toward that end, we have added programs for the B-6113, Gravity Bomb, and the Nuclear Sea-Launched Cruise Missile to the other 5 warhead programs that have been and continue to be in our program of record. We have accepted the challenge of the 2 new warheads within the same time frame spanned by the other 5. In fiscal year 2023, as Administrator Ruby mentioned, we delivered more than 200 modernized warheads to the military, with all deliveries on schedule. The FY25 budget request supports our commitment to continuing on-time deliveries into the future. It reflects time phasing of many efforts, including construction projects, to ensure that capabilities are ready by the time they are needed for warhead delivery. In closing, I would like to thank again this subcommittee, the full committee, and Congress for the support that has enabled NNSA to deliver on its important national security missions to date, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, sir. Admiral Wolf.
Chairman King, Ranking Member Fisher, thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of the Department of the Navy's budget priorities for nuclear forces. As Director of Strategic Systems Programs, my mission is to provide credible and affordable strategic solutions to our warfighter. For nearly 7 decades, and with Congress's steadfast support, the Navy submarine force has served as the foundation for the U.S. strategic posture, operating on continuous patrol and providing assured second strike capability. Since I testified before this panel last year, we have built on this remarkable history of deterrence, marking such milestones as the final demonstration and shakedown operation for our Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines, establishment of a new nuclear office for the sea-launched cruise missile, SLICM-N. Additionally, in coordination with our NNSA partners, we are initiating a nuclear weapon project to adapt a nuclear warhead for this new capability. This work has not been without its challenges. Long periods of nuclear sustainment have atrophied the domestic industrial base and its critical skills. Significant investments are required to build back capacity to handle multiple concurrent nuclear modernization programs. Furthermore, we are seeing exceptional inflation-based cost growth due to the aging industrial base, associated supply chain challenges, and material obsolescence. Nevertheless, we must continue to sustain today's deterrent while modernizing for the future. First and foremost, we must maintain the current D5LE missile inventory and provide the necessary operational support to sustain Ohio-class submarines through the end of their life in the early 2040s. Secondly, along with PEO SSBN, we must continue to ensure a seamless transition between Ohio-class and Columbia-class submarines. For my command, SSP, this requires a seamless transition of the current Trident II D5LE weapon system onto the new Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine. Finally, one of the greatest advantages the United States has is its alliances and partnerships. For decades, U.S. policy has recognized the contribution of an independent British nuclear deterrent adds to NATO and indeed global stability. SSP will continue to support and sustain this most important relationship. Execution of these priorities is only possible through investment in our people, our infrastructure, and our industrial base. Nuclear modernization will take time, and I echo the Strategic Posture Commission's findings that urgent and comprehensive resourcing and whole of enterprise effort is absolutely essential. It is only through your continued support that the department's highest modernization priorities can be achieved and the Navy can deliver a reliable sea-based strategic deterrent capability. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today on behalf of the dedicated Americans that make strategic deterrence their life's work. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Admiral. General Bossieri.
Good afternoon, Chairman King, Ranking Member Fisher, and distinguished members of this committee. I'm honored to represent the men and women of Air Force Global Strike Command and provide you an update on our mission, our airmen, and our ongoing modernization efforts and the challenges in sustaining our legacy weapon systems. I'd like to thank Congress for its support, not only to national defense, but the Air Force's long-range strike and nuclear deterrence missions. My full statement has been submitted for the record. Air Force Global Strike Command was established in 2009 to ensure focused leadership and oversight of the Air Force's nuclear mission. I am grateful to the members of this committee for your steadfast support as we continue to move forward with the modernization of our weapon systems. The timely modernization of our nuclear triad, of which Global Strike is responsible for 2/3, remains the command's paramount focus. With our current modernization efforts, including our land-based ICBMs, bomber force, helicopter force, nuclear command and control platforms, weapons generation facilities, and nuclear weapons. This committee is keenly aware of the threats facing our nation today and in the foreseeable future. We currently face the challenge of deterring two major nuclear-armed competitors, the People's Republic of China and the Russian Federation, both armed with modern and diverse nuclear capabilities. Additionally, we are aware of the escalating nuclear threat presented by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and the possibility of a nuclear-armed Iran. Not only is the command leading the charge in sustaining current forces and deploying future long-range strike weapon systems, Global Strike Command is acutely aware that the nuclear deterrence mission is the bedrock of our national defense strategy and foundational to our nation's defense and essential to that of our allies and partners. The Air Force nuclear enterprise is at a critical juncture. Our operational margin is razor thin. Our resources are stretched to their limits. Today, I request your continued support as we confront these pressing challenges while upholding our nation's security. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, General. Admiral Wolf, we who work in this area so frequently, sometimes things just go by and we take them for granted. You said something very important in your opening statement about a secure second strike capability. Why is that so important to deterrence?
Yes, sir. I mean, obviously, if you think about it from the adversary's perspective, anything that they may think they could do as an initial strike, the SSBN force is always out there on alert, on patrol, unknown where they're at, but certainly if ever called upon, they are survivable and could ensure that a second strike from our nation could be performed. So that is absolutely critical as you look at deterrence and what it means.
So the idea is that the adversary can't think that they can knock us out entirely with one strike. If you've got the survivable at sea capability, that must give them pause. That's
Yes,
the
sir.
theory.
That's absolutely correct.
Thank you. Dr. Adams, many of the production lines, and I think you touched on this in your testimony, for the components have been dormant for many years. Do we have the physical assets and the people to be able to bring those lines back in order to meet the demand that we're seeing in our modernization?
Yes, sir, we do. Thank you for that question. Yes, thank you. I'll repeat my answer. Thank you for the question, Senator King. The short answer is yes, sir, we do. We don't have a lot of margin. We have to time phase things carefully so that we deploy the needed capabilities in time for when they're needed for given warheads. As I think you know, as we progress through our program of record, successive warheads will require more and more of the components to be newly manufactured as opposed to reused. And that's an integral part of what goes into our planning and our budget requests that support that planning. But the answer is yes, we can do it.
Is there an end date to a nuclear warhead? In other words, I've seen in New Mexico those rows and rows and rows. Is there some point where they're deemed useless and we have to reprocess? What's the estimated lifespan of a nuclear warhead?
The answer is different for different warheads, and it's different for different components. We are a conservative bunch by our nature and by the importance of our mission. We don't certify things to be out in the stockpile unless we are highly confident that they can still meet all the military requirements. If there's an exception to that, we duly note it and work with the services and DOD to accommodate those exceptions. But we do retire our warheads and we dismantle them and we do recycle that material.
And that's when that material can go to Admiral Houston for naval reactors.
It goes various places. We recycle the material that goes into our newly manufactured warheads, for example. The plutonium we will use for pit production will be recycled. The highly enriched uranium that we use for our warheads is recycled. And of course, yes, it's older secondaries that are the source of material for naval reactors and also for some other defense-related and NNSA-related uses.
Thank you. General Bouchier, you're engaged in the overseeing and in many ways managing the Sentinel rebuilding. Are you satisfied that we have the organizational structure to manage that process? Because as you know, we're facing a Nunn-McCurdy breach. I think it's important to note that the problem is not the missiles, but the civil works. Do we have the structure and the people in charge that are necessary to make sure we can get beyond that and get that project moving forward?
Senator King, that's an excellent question as it relates to how we're rebuilding the management team that oversees the Sentinel weapon system.
Is your mic on? I'm having a little trouble. Could you get a little closer to your mic, please? Thank you.
So as you know, in NDA 23, we were directed at Global Strike Command to stand up a site activation task force relating to the transition from Minuteman III to the Sentinel weapon system. That directorate stood up last August, and General Connor is the general officer I put in charge of that. And as you know, the 24 NDA requires the department to look at those various different authorities within the Department of Defense that should be delegated to that task force to oversee the transition from Minuteman III to the Sentinel program.
Do we have the structure that we need?
We haven't returned back to Congress with our recommendations on those responsibilities, primarily because of the pause with the Nunn-McCurdy process going through right now. So we still owe that answer from the 24 NDA back to Congress.
We'll look forward to having that, because this is one of the most important and frankly expensive projects that we have underway. And we really, I'll sleep better at night if I know somebody's in charge. My philosophy of management is you want one throat to choke. I think we need to be sure that there's somebody who's ultimately responsible for this.
Yes, Senator, and I think you're looking at him.
Thank you. Thank you for volunteering. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today, and thank you for your service. Admiral Wolf, one of the recommendations of the Strategic Posture Commission's report was to, quote, accelerate development and deployment of D5LE2, end quote. How is your organization evaluating different avenues to ensure that this critical update is available as soon as possible?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. So where we're currently at right now, we are within a year of getting to what we call milestone B, which is really where we will settle in on what the trade studies have told us the right architecture is going to be, and then where we start to get the entire program in alignment to move forward to understand what the schedule will really be to first meet where we know we need to get, which is in the late 30s when we run out of current assets. But then once we anchor that, that will give us the opportunity to look to see if there are any opportunities to accelerate. We're certainly aware of what the Strategic Posture Commission recommended. And as we go through this, that will be taken into account as we start to lock in that program.
You have a really important responsibility just to manage the transition from the Ohio class to Columbia to make sure that we have the warheads necessary to put on those boats that are out there. How are you managing all of that? What input do you have there? Because that's what 60-70% of warheads that are deployed. How are you able to control the timeline and make sure we can meet it by getting all of the factions together?
Yes, ma'am. So
The administrator, Dr. Adams, how's this going to work?
So I think
here?
it's a whole of Navy effort with the way we originally structured the way we would transition between Ohio and Columbia. And that's why if you look at the decision that was made when we said we were going to have a replacement for Ohio, we made the decision that ostensibly the weapon system that I'm responsible for and the warheads that go on that weapon system, we are ostensibly picking that up and moving it to Columbia. So from a design development perspective, although there are a few differences, it is essentially the same system. And as we manage this transition, the way we've done it is, as Ohio will come offline, we take those assets and then we'll load those onto a Columbia. So that's how we guarantee that when we're asked to meet Operation Global Citadel requirements for U.S. Strategic Command, we have the assets, we have the timing, because we will not download anything before we know we've got the new platform to upload. So I'm able to manage all of that with the assets we have so that as the timing works, we control when that will occur.
And there will not be a gap.
No, ma'am. As a matter of fact, as you are very aware, to ensure that there's not a gap, although not in my portfolio, the Navy has decided we are looking at a certain number of Ohio class that we could potentially extend in the event that a Columbia may show up late, so we can always meet the STRATCOM requirements of Operation Global Citadel. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. General Bussier, nice to see you, sir. I'm pleased to see that the Air Force has moved forward with SAOC. Can you provide us with an update on the program and how fiscal year 25, the budget request is going to support that specific part of our NC3 architecture?
Yes, Senator Fisher, we're really excited about the decision and the announcement of the industry partner that was selected for the Strategic Airborne Operations Center. Sierra Nevada Corporation was selected by the department, and the threshold number of the platform is 6 aircraft, with the objective number of the platform is 8 aircraft. The 25 budget, I think, like we previously had talked about briefly, is primarily for research and development, and as well as starting to look at some of the construction projects required for the additional aircraft that will be based at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha.
Thank you.
Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today. I'd like to talk a little bit about the submarine-launched cruise missile, the nuclear version, SLCM-N. The development of SLICM-N has been driven by a perceived need for deterrence against the growing Russia and China nuclear threat. And Russia, as we all know, maintains a stockpile of maybe about 2,000 low-yield tactical warheads and has an employment doctrine that envisions some limited nuclear use. The SLICM-N is theoretically meant to ensure that our adversaries know that we have the ability to respond in kind. In short, it should give us more flexibility, but I'm concerned that we are spending money and taxing our manufacturing capacity for a redundant capability. With the addition of the B61-13 and the SLICM-N, the National Nuclear Security Administration has a lot on its plate. We're also developing a W76-2 low-yield warhead, and the Air Force is soon going to have the long-range standoff missile on a B-21, and its W80 warhead has a low-yield option with it. I'm also concerned about the changes we would have to make to Virginia-class subs to accommodate SLICM-N. So, Vice Admiral Wolf, what would it cost the Navy in time, funds, long-term limitations to take conventional torpedoes off of our attack submarines to accommodate a low-yield nuclear weapon, SLICM-N?
Yes, Senator, thanks for the question. So certainly we've started to look at that, and actually there is a report out already to Congress at the classified level for some of those initial impacts. But based on where the NDA this past year asked us to go look, and with support from this committee and others, we've asked for flexibility because we absolutely recognize, yes, there will be some impact to our SSN force. But if you look at the options that it provides to the president, and if we're allowed to go look at how to not impact anything else, to your point, with the nuclear modernization that we're already doing for the Triad, which is absolutely fundamental, we are looking at what options we can provide that will give us that capability with minimum impact for both the Navy and for NNSA to go make this happen. So we are in the process of looking at all that right now with the added flexibility that we've asked for to do.
I read the report yesterday, and you say limited impact, and I don't want to get into details of a classified report, but some of it did not seem like the different options that were given were not limited impact. And I want you to go into a little bit about what would we need to do to a Virginia-class sub in terms of modifications and cost to the sub itself, and to the extent you can do it here, a little bit about how the operations could change in order to put that capability onto a Virginia-class attack sub.
Yes, sir. So certainly from a cost perspective, it would be premature to give you an exact cost of what we think a program like that would cost. That's why part of what we're going to look at in this next year is, to your point, what solutions are out there that would minimize the number of modifications we would have to make to one of our SSNs, and you particularly pointed out Virginia. There is no doubt that based on the solution, the impacts could be greater, or they could be less, depending on, which is why we've asked for the flexibility to be able to go look at multiple solutions to try and weigh that. That's from an impact to the actual platform. And we believe that there's other things out there, and I can't talk about them here, that might get us to a capability that would actually, and I do believe, minimize the impact of modifications we would have to make to our SSNs. All right, we're going to understand that. Now, from an operational perspective, you're absolutely right. Anytime you have a conventional mission with a nuclear mission, you have to be very careful to segregate those and make sure that our warfighters understand how that operates. Again, as we come through material solutions, impacts to the fleet will also be taken into account as we get through what a solution would look like. And then it's just going to be a matter of what would the cost of that solution be as we lock in, and what support do we need to go make that happen.
One big concern I have is when you look at a conflict between the United States and a near-peer adversary that has, maybe in some cases, could have a bigger fleet, both in naval and merchant vessels. Our submarine capability is substantial. It's significant. it would weigh heavily in that kind of conflict. And when I think about the probability of firing a conventional torpedo, out of a submarine, out of a torpedo tube, and the likelihood of having to do that multiple times, and just the rather shallow depth of a magazine, not a lot of rounds you have aboard the sub. Sure, certainly you can reload, but that takes some time, and there's risk involved in doing that. Weighing that with the very unlikely event that we would deploy a tactical nuclear weapon in combat, one of my biggest concerns is that we would be giving up something we really need for something we are unlikely to use.
Yes, sir, I appreciate that. And certainly all of those discussions will take place as we look at how do you weigh options available to the president for a deterrent capability as opposed to a conventional capability. And certainly the next year will inform us a lot more on how we're going to get at being able to balance all of that.
All right. Thank you, Admiral. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
To follow up, Admiral, the theory is that if all we have is massive retaliation, that's not credible in response to a tactical use by an adversary. Isn't that really what we're talking about here?
Certainly in a regional conflict, absolutely, sir. There is no doubt. And to Senator Kelly's point, although we have deployed a 76-2 and we're done with that, so we've gotten that impact out of NNSA. You ask yourself again, is that a credible scenario if you're trying to deter in a regional conflict?
The Russians
So all of those things are being
the
taken.
Russians
into
are
account.
talking all the time about using the possibility of using nuclear weapons. As Senator Kelly points out, part of their doctrine, escalate to de-escalate.
Yes, sir. And it really is a matter of, as you talked again earlier about a second strike capability, anything that we can do to cause China or Russia to pause on whether they would even consider any type of nuclear, really what we're trying to get after with all these systems.
Thank you. Very basic question. The idea of the Ohio class and the Columbia class with the ICBMs goes back, with ballistic missiles, goes back many years. That decision was made, 30, 40 years ago when this was first being discussed. Are we making a mistake by sticking with ballistic missiles and not moving toward hypersonic cruise missiles or some, in other words, the problem with, as we had a hearing last week with the Missile Defense Agency, a ballistic missile, Sir Isaac Newton can tell you where it's going to land. It's I wouldn't say it's easy to intercept, but it's much easier to intercept than a maneuverable cruise missile. Should we be thinking fundamentally about, are we putting a 70s or 80s weapon on this modern submarine? Maybe we should be thinking about what these submarines are going to be armed with. Is that an off-the-wall idea, or is that something that you're thinking about?
Sir, that's a difficult question to answer in an unclassified scenario. I'd be more than happy to have that discussion in a classified setting. But here's what I would tell you. Based on technology and the things that we're all experiencing, there is no one solution that fits every scenario where we could think about how we would credibly deter our adversaries. So I think certainly the triad that we have today still remains the bedrock and the foundation of our nuclear deterrent capability. There is no doubt when we talk about things like Sea Launched Cruise Missile, or we talk about some of these other things, there is a place for them, and those discussions need to be had in the future.
I just want to be sure those discussions are happening and that we're not just doing what we've done. We've never done it that way before. I hate that attitude. So I just want to be sure there are those discussions.
Yes, sir. We do have those discussions all the time.
Thank you. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any more questions, but I appreciate your answer to Senator Kelly about SLCM-N. And I think it's extremely important that not only do we look at what our adversaries are doing and their comments their public comments that they make, that we have to be able to have different options. And so I really appreciate the work that you do on that, and to make sure that a president would have options that would only add to the deterrence, to make sure we would never have to use them. So thank you.
I want to conclude the hearing, but General Bussier, you mentioned the new NAOC, and a group of us almost 10 years ago went on one of the NAOCs around the country on a flight with a simulated attack, and it was one of the most sobering experiences of my life. I would urge you to think about inviting members of the committee, members of Congress to take that trip, because it takes it out of the hearing room and becomes much more real as you think about what challenges this country might face, what challenges the president might face in a situation. That was what came through to me, was that clock on the wall that told you how long you had to make a decision. I want to thank you all for the work that you do. It's some of the most important work that this government is doing. Deterrence is the bedrock of our strategy. You're on the front line of deterrence. Thank you very much. I appreciate your testimony. We'll hold the record open for additional thoughts and testimony and questions from our members. But for today, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Hearing is adjourned.
So E3B is an event that tests soldiers in 3 different categories based on their military occupational specialty. It's either the Expert Field Medical Badge, the Expert Infantryman Badge, or the Expert Soldier's Badge.
This is the first time we've had the opportunity to come together and support each other through personnel and the staff and sustainability of the logistics portion of this.
Logistically, it just makes the most sense. We have so much support staff here supporting us, and it enables units to send their soldiers all at once rather than spreading it out throughout the year.
I came here last year as a candidate competing for the badge and earned it. So it's a very cool opportunity to be here now as a grader and to see the other side of it, how much work all the graders went through last year setting up the event, having to clear out the woods and set up their lanes, acquire all the gear that they need.
To be a grader, you have to actually have earned one of those badges. As long as you've already shown the proficiency and have previously earned the badge, that's all it needs to be a grader.
Charge it rapidly. There you go. Finish your target. There you go. Finish it.
We have roughly 140 cadre that is required to make this event run and be successful.
And begin.
To see the amount of effort it takes to put this on, not only from the grader's perspective, but the support staff's perspective. And so for us to be able to come together, 3 components, and support each other through this, I can definitely see the sustainability long-term for us to continue to put this on.
Ready to go.
So we've been preparing for this event for the last 3 weeks. The first week was all set up and practice. The second week was USART validation. And the third week was validation from EIB validator out of Fort Moore, Georgia, ESB and EFMB validators out of Fort Jackson.
Ready, lift.
E3B is an opportunity for soldiers to come out and demonstrate they have the proficiencies and the skills, the detail, the resilience to set themselves apart from their peers and to prove to themselves that they are experts in their craft.
It brings soldiers in from all 3 compos, both active duty, reserves, National Guard, to come and compete for their badge. So we've got soldiers out here from high-ranking officers to junior enlisted soldiers competing right next to one another on the same events and helping each other through it.
Yeah, I would encourage soldiers of every rank to come. I was a private first class last year competing for the badge, and it was a really unique opportunity being around senior NCOs and officers. When you're competing for the badge, you're all equally stressed and performing the same task to the same standard.
On ground, we have 100 soldiers here competing for the Expert Soldier Badge. We have 30 soldiers here competing for their Expert Infantryman Badge. And then we have 51 soldiers here competing for their Expert Field Medical Badge. I think from last year, this year, we're 3 times the size we are. So that's great. That means that the word's getting out and that soldiers are aware of this opportunity and this training.
Any soldier that has been in the Army for at least 6 months after basic training in AIT, they should always strive to become an expert in their tasks. So in being a soldier, in being an infantryman, and being a medic.
E3B should be hosted every soldier to come and prove they're proficient, skilled, and a battle-ready soldier.
Charlotte's one of my home tracks. You know, that's a place where I honestly don't feel pressure. I'm near home, and it's a great time. I've grown up going to Charlotte Motor Wood throughout the years of being around my family, with them being in racing. So Charlotte's a place that means a lot to me, and to be able to go run there is really special. And especially in the Coke 600, it's a very long race, and what it stands for is awesome. So being able
and the fact that their families are able to see it every year is awesome. It's a little more pressure because you want to show the name off, but it's also great to see leading up to the race, all those service members that you can see during the week, and then at the race itself, they're everywhere, and it's really cool to see. I grew up watching it. I watched it when I was in the military as well, so I know you can be any part of the world watching it. It's awesome.
Racing that weekend, you know, you feel kind of the enthusiasm to celebrate, you know, all the servicemen that weekend at the racetrack. And I think that just, you know, the whole weekend becomes about that. And I think that you kind of realize that from the first time you walk in the garage to the moment of silence to everything that kind of goes on throughout the weekend. You just realize how it's a great weekend to lift those guys up and think about them more than you would on a normal weekend. It makes you stop and pause for a little bit, right? You just think about the military displays that they'll have going, you know, helicopters there and people roping down and think and pause and kind of think a little deeper about some of the sacrifices that people have given, you know, for us to be in this country and freedoms and enjoy what we do, where you're able to take a little more time and just think about that for a second and kind of ponder, you know, and be thankful that we get to race and we get to do some of these things that we do all because of them.
I think that, you know, for me, just being in NASCAR and the job that they've done around, you know, the Coke 600 and Memorial Day weekend really put it in perspective for me. NASCAR's done a great job of giving us this opportunity to represent those families and those fallen men and women. And you feel that weight of it. It's a big weekend. And like I said, the personal side of it, of meeting those family members, is what made it very real and very close to home. A lot of the pre-race activities, you definitely stay in that moment. Every driver and every team and every, you know, family member that you're representing is a different scenario. But, you know, I've had the privilege to have those close family members there, and they come to the driver's meeting with you. They come to chapel. They come to driver introduction. So that part, you know, is very engaged in what's happening. I think that we all feel the weight and the responsibility to not only represent those families, but represent all servicemen and women, and understand the importance and appreciation of what they do. It's a reflection of our country. It's a reflection of who we are. And our sport does a good job of that. We know the importance of freedom, and we know.
I know. You do it 230. I hold a 215 pace. That's easy.
Ready? Set. Go.
Nope. Yep, ready. And go. Go, sir!
Time start. I'm good. Breathe. Breathe, Lobos. Breathe. You're good. Vote. And here's one. Go. Keep that stable breathing. Keep that stable breathing. So much. The Army breathe.
25 mil.
Keep going. Do not let go. No.
Don't let it go.
Thank you. Give up.
242. M242.
When was it? To the ready, baby.
I believe it's worth it because it's something that I don't get to do.
It's fun. So the suffering and pain through it all is really fun in the end.
The comfort with being uncomfortable, the comfort of putting myself in these uncomfortable positions and not only pushing myself through them, but striving through them.
I learned a lot about myself and about what I can do. I learned a whole bunch, especially with my sergeants.
Grew as a father as well. That was relatively a new situation as well. But at the end of the day, it helps you develop as a leader, helps you learn some new skills and refurbish some old ones. So,
well, as an officer, I think if you're going to ask something of your soldiers, you should have an inkling of what you're asking them to do. I think competitions like this are amazing for showing you that, not only the technical skills, but just the physical skills of what you're asking people to do. Like you ask people to move, ruck a 12 mile. Yeah, that's a rough thing, but ruck a 12 mile and then do a trauma lane and then do a stress shoot. Like you might be asking a lot. If you're spending all your time in the CP, you're not going to have that knowledge of what you're asking your team to do.
I think there was different days that were designated for breaking points. Basically, the first day was like a physical test of your capabilities. You're going to be expected to do the EPFA right into a swim. You have to ruck to the gym that you're going to do the swim at, and you got to go ruck back to go perform the German
PFA, and then we got to go ruck back, and then dayland nav right into nightland nav, which is excessive amounts of mileage on just one day. And then the second day is kind of like mental challenging because it's a bunch of tasks that you've done before, but you're having to culminate it all together within one day. And you're also on a time limit because there's 100 candidates out here that are all trying to perform the same task. So you can do these tasks, but you gotta be fast about it in order to get the points that you want to get.
But this is supposed to be hard on you and stressful and test every bit of you. Not only are you tired, but you are physically doing everything, every muscle aches, and then at the same time, like, you have to think about what you're doing too. So you're physically, but you're also mentally exhausted, and you have to keep going.
Bleeding still controlled.
But the sense of accomplishment once you're done, knowing I gave it my all in every single event, is more than me getting RCOM at this. Like, if I won, I'm gonna go, awesome, that's great. If I don't win, I'm gonna I still finished this competition. I didn't fall out of the ruck. I finished the ruck. I got a silver Gatsby out of this. In every event, I did to my absolute best ability during that time.
Standing shooting, I hit like half, like more than half.
I did better with pistol than. I feel good. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of the team. We came out here and we killed it. We did our best.
There you go, Lobos. Keep holding. Keep holding, Lobos.
It's showed me that I can push through things and keep a positive attitude and not let any negativity get me down or let my own emotions stop me from pushing.
You have more in you.
I didn't cry during Nightland Nav. So I'm like really scared of the dark. I cried during Nightland Nav during our train up because I was by myself. Trying to get over that. So when I didn't cry during this land nav, I was like, I'm improving because I can do things by myself at night. I found points. I was so happy. So yeah.
I was definitely pushed to the limit. I mean, you can see it on the first PFA on that first night that we did the competition. The very first morning, I was sucking air. I mean, I was going as hard as I can, as fast as I can, but the humidity here, just the different atmosphere, it just wasn't cohesive. It wasn't a cohesive thing going on for me. I could have done on my own. I could have stayed up really late at night, woke up early in the morning and went out and did a ruck, right? And that would have trained my body to be used to that and recognize that. And so that when I went out there with that 2 hours of sleep, I wouldn't have been sucking and ended up failing that ruck. But it is what it is. I really tried my hardest. I feel like I trained as best as we can for what we were expecting. And I'm not really disappointed in myself. I'm just disappointed in the fact I couldn't overcome those variables.
With how many rucks we were doing and how I improved on our rucks over at Fort Riley, I didn't expect this heat and humidity to hit me so hard over here. So I didn't meet my expectations for the 12 mile over here. And I just didn't take into consideration that heat and humidity really does have a play into everything. So I wish I had done more workouts outside in the heat of Fort Riley.
Just breathing soup down here. That's all it is. It's been a while since I've been back in Texas, and air is a lot, for lack of better words, heavier. But still got my go. Still passed. So I did walk, but I didn't let myself fail either.
This was a very intense week. We went into the ruck with 2 hours of sleep. It was very much go, go, go for a while, or at least whatever the next thing is going to be challenging. So I hope you're ready for it. Not a whole lot of heads up to what was coming. So we were kind of on our toes of like, what is the next thing? Of course, competitors have rumor mills. Like, I heard this, heard that. This is what's next. This is how it's going to work. Obviously, that's not always reliable, as most rumor mills aren't. But that added some intensity as well.
We have an amazing team here at IAC. The squad that Sergeant Major put together is we're like a family now at this point, because every 30 minutes someone's laughing. It's a really cohesive team we got here.
Yeah, they're going to be something like.
No. Let it go.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
You need to start off trotting like a horse.
Like a horse?
Let's gallop.
I'll be behind you with the coconuts.
Because all throughout the competition, everybody kind of looked our direction. Everybody looked at us and kind of seemed like they knew that we had like a strong bond together.
I feel like our team was very tight knit, to the point where other teams were hanging out with our team. And so that was kind of cool to see, like, our cohesion, like, drew others in. I'm grateful to have had this week with them in the train up. Really good time. Like, what was your time like in the Army? This will be one of those stories I get to tell.
The next group of soldiers next year, I would definitely say train under austere, like train in an austere environment. When it's cold outside, that's when you need to be outside. When it's hot outside, that's when you need to be outside. When you're tired from a day of PT, that's when you surprise the team with a ruck or some grand event, basically, because that's basically what you're exposed to here. You're not laid out a plan of what you're doing, right? It's this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, all back to back to back, next to next to next. You're not basically told what you're doing ahead of time.
I think part of the train up is doing things that are hard and embracing that suck together. I think helps you see more of who people are. And then once you kind of have that raw human being in front of you, then you got to get to know them better. And I think that's where the cohesion really starts to build.
We were in so much pain. We were basically shuffling at this point. Some of us got blisters the size of 50-cent coins on our heels. As a team, we did well. I was just excited.
You're right. You will end on that side of the track. When you end, you will make your way to the right outside of the track and make your way back around to the bleachers for further instructions. Also, please do not ask the graders for your time at any point. They will not be able to give it to you. Good luck. What we're going to do, we're going to alternate every 10 minutes. We're going to send you out 12 minutes at a time.
The weather here has definitely been a little bit challenging because of the humidity and the heat. It's definitely a lot different than Kansas, but overall, it's not really all too bad, but it's definitely been more of a challenge than what I've been more used to. The heat mixed with the humidity and just general lack of experience in the Army really put my abilities to the test out there on the PFA. It was very awakening time, I guess you could say.
So the weather here is a lot different than Kansas. In Kansas, it's warm, but it has the wind, and it's a nice, like, evened out. But over here, it's warm, humid, and there's not much wind to cool you down at all.
I did walk a couple times just to catch my breath. but then I picked it right back up and got going. I pushed myself as hard as I can, but I know that if I did not catch a breather and be able to recuperate, that I would not have made time. And so I had to take that breather in order to complete the event.
It exhausted me a lot faster. I started to overheat a little bit, like during the middle with the sandbags and the low crawl. The final run, my legs were shot. They didn't want to move at all. So I was just like I was like, I can't stop, just keep moving. And I tried to speed up towards the end. But I was running the entire time, or shuffling the entire time.
You did amazing.
You are amazing, brother. Expect nothing else.
I was doing my push-ups, I didn't even get halfway, and I heard 20, and I was like, clutch. Okay.
So I might be a little.
So as a motor sergeant, I manage several different sections. So our sections consist of unscheduled maintenance, which are field level maintenance services on time-based or day-based intervals. Also, I manage unscheduled services. Unscheduled services, members of our team, they come out, they conduct PMCS, they identify faults. Once they identify the faults, we try to get the piece of equipment back in the fight as soon as possible. So I came from a pretty large family. It was 12 brothers and sisters on my dad's side. So my dad was a mechanic. Most of my uncles was a tinker, carpentry, woodwork, you name it. It's something I grew up doing, so it's just natural that I did it. Oftentimes in the neighborhood, people's cars would break down. So my uncle was the guy that they took the car to, right? So as a kid, he had sons too. We would go over to his house. They would come over to our house, and we would just work on cars, four-wheelers, dirt bikes. He served in the military. He used to talk to us, so it's little bits about him when he was in the military. And it was just one of them things that, okay, I should at least give it a try. Gave it a try, and I love it. So typical day, generally, we start our day off with a sync. So our sync, we bring an ESR to our sync. Our ESR is pretty much the status of all our equipment we have out here. We identify what we can fix and the time frame we can fix it, and then we assign mechanics to work off their ESR. Also, each section is responsible for briefing that part of that actual sync. We'll have our SOP operation up there as well. They'll talk about faults that's coming into the SSA, so we can kind of game plan what our week will look like. Our garrison is a little bit simpler. Everything's condensed. Everything is out here online. However, once you go out to the field, right, you got a multitude of elements in different locations. Breakdown procedures, recovery procedures, they also change. They get a little bit more complicated out there in the field, i.e. the odds of us rolling a piece of equipment here is low. However, in the field, that kind of increased risk. So for the soldiers, I think it's a good opportunity to them being out in the field. That's why I truly believe they get to learn their job because of some of the amenities they don't have. It's a lot of field expedient procedures that we do have to use while in the field. It's a wonderful opportunity. It's one of them jobs where the day-to-day operation for a mechanic is not the same. 1 month you could be on unscheduled services. The next month you can be on scheduled services. And even if they don't plan on making it a long military career, it's something that's easily transferable in the civilian world. I'm an NCO at the end of the day. For us, it's all about the soldiers. Working with the soldiers, teaching the soldiers, developing the soldiers, that is the greatest part of being a motor sergeant.
Attention! Your mission is to subscribe and beat feet to the next video. Why haven't you done it yet?
The stress level has begun.
2024 Best Warrior Competition. Have a great Army Day. Back out.
We're going to start going about 350 meters.
I can push it, yeah. Just crawl through. All right. All right, let's do it.
1, 2, 3. All right. Incoming!
Water. Waist deep, waist deep.
They'll drown.
Get them out of here. Let's go.
My name is Alan Goria. My job title is Security Specialist. I work for Emergency Management and Security for the Army Corps of Engineers. Some of the responsibilities that I do is I ensure that the safety and security for all personnel here at the Galveston District. Some administrative work as far as clearances to ensure that policies and regulations are being followed throughout the building, as well as outside the project offices and the area offices. I do administrative inspections where I go to the places and I follow the regulations that tell me what needs to be protected and how it needs to be protected. Sometimes I get phone calls to say, hey, I need a staff assistant visit, where I just go without my pen and paper and I just walk them through the policies and the regulations that need to be followed for that particular position. I got to make sure that everything is according to regulation, that it is fortified to the right, to the best of the abilities of the Army. The qualifications you need to become a security specialist depends on the position description that's given for that specific job. Education is a plus as far as having a degree in some type of law enforcement, homeland security. I have associates in criminal justice, but also have over 20 years of experience as a military policeman. You do not need to be in the military to have a position at the Army Corps of Engineers. The environment in the office is excellent. We tend to, when it's downtime, we tend to joke around. We have a good time. When it's time to work, it's time to work. But when it's time to kind of relax, we all relax with each other. We talk to each other. It's a real good time. Some of the benefits I have as a federal employee are medical. My children need medical care, and one is a type 1 diabetic, so medical care around the clock is needed. So that's what the government has given me, is really good medical care. Obviously, I have to pay into it, but it's a lot cheaper than being out there in the industry. Some of the benefits here at the Galveston District is everything is protected from the outside. There's a 360-degree security as far as the fence line. We could look out our window and see the beach. I would say 90% of the time is sunshine and watching the beach, watching the waves. So that's what I appreciate, looking out the window, just knowing there's a relaxed environment out there. Some of the benefits for me and my family, obviously we got the beach right next door in our backyard. Plus we love fishing. So there's fishing everywhere. Anywhere you can look or anywhere you want to go, there's some type of fishing. But one of the main things is Houston's not even 30, 45 minutes to the center of Houston. So we're in Houston, but we're outside. There's a lot of things to do in Houston. It makes us happy. One of the main things that I came to Galveston District, obviously, because I'm from the great state of Texas. But it's the people that are around here. I love the people I work with. I come to work, I enjoy it. There's always something new to do. Plus, being in the military, you see a lot of cultures. You see a lot of individuals that are different in a great way. And that's something that I'm attracted to, because I want to know other people's, like what are their cultures. It's interesting to learn other people's background and what they have done. But it's just a culmination of everybody that's here with different views, backgrounds, which that's what I'm attracted to. So I don't see it changing, so I'll probably stay here for the long haul.
Hi, I'm Captain Anastasia Bistro. I am currently the Battalion Operations Officer at 179 Field Artillery, a part of 4th and 4th Field Artillery Brigade. So being a drill sergeant is truly the hardest position in the military, I believe, because they are here from 04 to 2100 some days, working their hardest to better prepare those trainees and to become the soldiers that we all know that they can be. So while I was in battery command at Pressure Battery 179, I really made sure that the drill sergeants got time with both themselves to recharge and with their families to ensure that we are sustaining both themselves and their families physically, mentally, spiritually. He gave me the space without telling me exactly how to complete the task of take value of life and make it make sense for not just for you, but also for the personality of your battery. And so my battery was able to work with the Ready and Resilient department over at the GPC. But we also did events at Main Event and fun ways to get us all to come together, including like a holiday party. So it was just time for us to be ourselves and also time for us to get together and have discussions on leadership and prevention. It was my drill sergeants engaging and having a conversation of how we can improve both ourselves and the organization as a whole. The trainees can see through whether or not we're a good team. They aren't fully soldiers yet, but they see how a team works and they see how we work with each other. So using value of life really helped us build that foundation.
In 2001, 2009, United States Marine Corps. I was at boot camp during 9/11, so that was an interesting time.
I joined the service in 1998 and I got out shortly after 9/11. It was a great experience for a 17-year-old guy to get a few years in.
So I did 8 years Navy. I separated as an ABH-2, which is an E5.
When I landed at my first duty station, Cherry Point, North Carolina, that very first weekend that I was there, my staff NCO greeted me and said, "Hey, would you like to go to the race this weekend?" And they were racing down in Rocky. It was a fun weekend. I really learned, hey man, this is a big show. I want to be a part of this.
For the most part, during the 600, we're down on the infield getting things ready, getting everything ready for the military members. So a lot of one-on-one, a lot of gratitude coming from the military members for us putting this on for them.
There's a lot more to it than most people realize. To be able to get support for the military, I think it's a huge deal.
All year we talk about putting on the biggest and best show and honoring the military, doing the very best, and everything we do is centered around this event. We're really looking forward to having anybody come out.
Be sure and join us for a special Cars and Bikes edition of Right Arm Night on Friday, May 31st from 4 to 6 p.m. in the TMAC Ramada. The Car and Bike Show will feature contests in best muscle car, dirtiest four-wheel drive, cleanest, most patriotic, and much more. Plus special prizes and giveaways from our sponsors. It's Unit Fund for Unit Funds from MWR, Open to all active duty, retired, civilians, and spouses. For more information, call 520-678-4446.
All right, stand by real quick, guys. Sorry about that.
For when I get back.
Where's everybody else?
Right here.
You guys don't spread out?
I got Atkins. I got Burdick. Ramirez is back there. Lobos is right there. Where's Nestle?
Is she too small?
He's asleep back there. We're everywhere. There you go. Hey, of course.
You guys are not going to stick together?
Goal is to finish. I can't have Burdick slowing me down.
What time do you guys go to sleep? Bed.
Let's see. What time do you get back? Every single run. I beat you in the last one by a minute. 256, 257. Let's go. All right.
Yeah, we got back at 10:20 or 10:45. Like in bed at 11:30.
Dynamite, you move for me.
Thing is controlled.
And then we'll lay it on top.
Okay, the lips, up to your shoulders, lift. So, and you're gonna kill it.
Your Lobos, how are your feet?
They hurt.
Yeah. Ramirez?
Oh, they feel great, sir.
Yeah.
Ready to go.
Ready?
Amped.
All right, ready to attack the day.
Oh yeah. We're ready.
We're going to destroy it. Are you going to finish in time?
I'm gonna do my best to.
You're going to do your best.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. My game plan is to run faster than everybody. Just stay in the front of the pack. Well, I gotta get there first. What have you been told about the terrain here? Nothing. Or you don't know anything? You have no idea if you're on flat surface, cold turkey, whatever. You just
Cold turkey means Stockholm. All right, damn. Feel like licking your feet. Look all these cows. Who's going fast, sir?
There's my guy.
Definitely not first this time.
Ramirez.
Whatever, arms in. And once you're ready, you can do arms above your head.
This dunk is the easiest one I've done so far.
Dip your arms after you get your ruck way.
Hey, ready? They got a rule side.
That was mostly flat. A couple rolling hills towards the end.
Next hit time is 09.
What happened, man? You missed it by like, what, 3 minutes?
I have one gas too, right?
I don't know what happened because the Tri-Command route was a lot harder than it was here. And so I don't see how or why. I mean, I guess my back was hurting for the first like 5 miles because I didn't have my straps correct on my rug. But I went ahead and fixed it, and then I was able to pick up my pace again.
You already did your job.
But the Tri-Command route was a lot harder, and I passed that one with like 14 minutes to spare.
Sorry, Ramirez, how did you do it? You're the only one from IAC who completed it.
It went well.
Nobody else?
Nobody else. Even Atkins. Atkins was like 3 minutes late.
Oh, really?
What'd you do differently?
Well, it's not down enough, like from the Tri-Command. Like every Saturday since then, I've been doing the same like Tri-Command route or the Radar Hill route with a rucker IOTV for the PFA. So I just never forgave myself.
That's right, because last time you didn't complete it, right? I remember now.
Just sat right in the mile.
You were keeping track of your time, right, Atkins?
I was not.
You weren't? You don't have a watch on you?
No,
You had no sense as to how close or how far you were?
No, I didn't. I mean, I knew because of the markers that they had for Gatsby, but I didn't want to carry a watch on me because I didn't want to pace myself, not knowing exactly how far I am, and then end up not making the time. So I wanted to just push myself all the way through, which I did. I tried my absolute hardest to push through that rug, but the competition's not over yet. And, I might not have completed the rug, but I can try my absolute hardest and get points on it for me, myself, and the team on the next few events.
You're still aiming to win it?
I'm still aiming to win it. I don't know how the ruck will affect that because obviously we have a lot of candidates that pass that ruck. So it's just a matter of who passed, who got the most points.
Below the surface of the Petersburg Borough's South Harbor is where the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Alaska District completed its first project funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. A long line cutting ceremony was held in May to commemorate the event.
This has been a 2-year dredging project. We removed about 57,000 cubic yards out of the harbor here. This is to help improve the navigation of this harbor here in Petersburg, Alaska.
The project restored the South Harbor to original design depths ranging from -9 to 19 feet. Mariners can now safely access the harbor, but Borough Mayor Mark Jensen said the project's benefits will ripple beyond the shore.
This project has been a long time coming, and it's important. There's been numerous times I have a boat in the middle harbor. We're going down to my boat in a slow tide, and you see a seine boat full of fish stuck trying to get into the harbor, or a tender. So they're stuck aground. They can't get to the processor to deliver their fish. So it slows the whole, economic process down of the fishing industry.
While Congress provided 90% of the funding for the $7.3 million project, the borough supplied the remaining 10% as the non-federal sponsor. Furthermore, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Continuing Authorities Program made the Petersburg South Harbor dredging project possible.
So for the Continuing Authorities Program, the overall goal was to have small projects not needing any further authorization from Congress. So small, get it done kind of projects. And this project fell into that. So it was intended for our rivers and harbors under Section 107 for navigational improvements. And this was absolutely the right program for the right place.
In conjunction with the community's Little Norway Festival, in lieu of a ribbon, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was invited to cut the long line on this project alongside its Petersburg partners to celebrate its success and lasting impacts.
And it's an example of the profound impact these infrastructure improvement projects can have on a community. It was the right application from the right applicant with the right funding and at the right time for the right outcome.
To deliver vital engineering solutions in collaboration with our partners to secure our nation, energize our economy, and reduce disaster risk. So bravo! This was all accomplished in this South Harbor Dredge Project.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Whoa!
This is an extraordinarily special place for Alaska, and I'm really excited to have the harbor back in a safe working order going forward. We haven't had any improvements here for 40 years, so longer than I've been alive, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it.
I think some of the attributes that make a good comp, resiliency. I think, we're a soldier first, and we do the job of a soldier, especially if we're out deployed and stuff, but we also have to be a comm at the same time. So we're shooting a rifle and we're shooting with the camera, and we have to discern when to use what. And there's a lot that goes into that. And we have to paint the military in the way that, the command wants it. And it's our job to be the eyes of the military, the Department of Defense. So I think you really have to, focus on details and really be conscious of things going on in order to do your job as a soldier, but also take care of what you need to as a comm. And I think, being sharpened in every kind of aspect, and an event like this highlighting, technical, physical, mental, emotional strengths, I think helps us realize how serious of a job and how critical of the field we're in.
Enter through this gate directly in front of you on your route. And Bravo, you'll come around and enter the front of the gate here.
Keep up.
We up. In our environmental combat camera sensor site exploitation is what we are, experts in. We have to be able to get on target, get these operators and commanders what they need to represent the scene in its entirety, to turn, our visual products into a physical representation of what they need to be able to complete their mission. To do that successfully pretty much enables them to make on-the-spot, mitigate risks, eliminate enemies, and form in the future. So it's very, very critical that we do it effectively and precise.
We took contact while we were in the building. We lost
Bring the
two
lawyer
of
over
our
here.
We can take them. Grab them down. Grab your weapon. Let's go.
We are a bringer of truth and light, I think, in those organizations. And when we're feeding that up to combatant commanders, and we're the land power force of this nation. And as part of information assurance, what we're hoping for is decision-making dominance for those commanders, because people that are on that battlefield with us have similar capabilities. So if we're mechanically matched, our decision-making process has to be better than anybody else on the field. So if I'm feeding you real-time information through a camera lens or video lens, then I'm giving that combatant commander on the ground or wherever he's at the ability to make the best, fastest decision on the battlefield. And that, to me, is what ComCam really is getting after.
I'm Chelsea Jones, River Ranger with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Pittsburgh District. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is one of the nation's leading providers of federal water-based recreation. One of our highest priorities is to safeguard lives by promoting and educating boating and water safety. Rivers and waterways offer excellent opportunities for outdoor recreation, but they also come with additional hazards, such as debris in the water, commercial vessels, or large boats that are difficult to navigate around. On average, 163 people lose their lives each year while recreating on lands and waterways managed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. A vast majority of those are miles. 18 to Pittsburgh, there are a total of 11 fixed crest dams. These are especially hazardous because of the optical illusion that makes them challenging to see in the water. You should always know what waterway you're headed on, what's ahead, and pay attention to any navigational buoys or signs. If you see buoys or signs on the waterways, stay out, keep clear, and follow the instructions. They're there for your safety to protect you while navigating the waterway. Take a boater safety course. The U.S. Coast Guard statistics show that 75% of boating fatalities occur when the operator did not take a boating safety course. Wearing a U.S. Coast Guard approved life jacket is the simplest strategy for saving lives of recreational boaters. According to the U.S. Coast Guard, 85% of drowning victims were not wearing life jackets. An accident on the water could happen anytime. You should always expect the unexpected. Your life jacket won't work if you're not wearing it. It only takes 60 seconds for an adult to drown. We hope to see you out on our waterways this summer, enjoying your experience with your friends and family on behalf of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
I'm Chaplain Chuck Gilbertson, the Deputy for Plans and Operations at CTAF. So the chaplaincy for us, and for me specifically, has been an opportunity to get out and to bring my faith to soldiers, but also to help all of the soldiers in our community to practice their faith in accordance with their beliefs. So being in Africa and meeting with our partners here in Lusaka and with the South African development community has really provided us an opportunity to see how they are exercising their free exercise of religion in different contexts that we might not otherwise understand from a Western mindset. So I joined the chaplaincy, and I had been a prior service infantry officer. And when I was raising my first 3 children, came to know the Lord in a different way, in a saving way. And my faith went from an act of practice to an act of worship. And I found that there was a great need for spiritual leadership to help the moral spiritual development of soldiers, because our military community is very complex, and the moral and ethical challenges that our soldiers face will really put them to the test, and they need someone to help provide guidance, someone to help answer the greater questions about life and what is truly right, what is truly wrong, how to wrestle with the bigger questions of, is it right to take another life? So this has really been a very rewarding career for me.
For generations, people of a certain makeup have gone forth on our behalf to far-reaching places in the darkest valleys, steaming jungles, frigid mountaintops, and blazing deserts. They left their families, they left their loved ones, they left their homes, and they went forward to defend our nation. Citizens from all walks of life decided to serve. Neighbors, friends, sons and daughters, people we know, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers. They have gone forward in many cases repeatedly to do difficult and dangerous things. They're ready to bear any burden, meet any hardship, oppose any force, and ultimately pay any price.
Each of those lives
was lost in a horrible event. But each of those soldiers knew what they were doing. They were committed to their brethren. They were committed to their partners. They were committed to those people who they were deployed with. And they made that choice to volunteer both to serve and then to deploy. And so that's the type of soldier that exists in our Army today. We have the same caliber, the same quality, the same skill, the same expertise, and mostly the same dedication that's commemorated on those rocks behind us.
This here is for the Lawton Police Department.
And the Portsville half section are the winners of today's riding award presented by John Michael Montgomery. Let's hear it for our half section.
Today we are actually on day 4 of our testing week. We are currently doing the patrol lane of the Expert Soldier Badge. Ultimately, it falls in line with one of the lines of effort from the Chief of Staff of the Army. It's warfighting. The tasks that soldiers perform throughout the Expert Soldier Badge are nested with that, and ultimately it helps soldiers grow individually to perform those basic 10-level tasks that are generally asked with them and for self-betterment.
For myself, one of the most challenging lanes that I had to run through this whole Expert Soldiers Badge was have to be land navigation. I think land navigation, one of the key points here in this course. My best advice for all those soldiers that I haven't attempted at ESB is to just focus yourself, right? Trust yourself, trust your potential. Don't doubt yourself. Just go at it. Look at myself. Working from an aspect of logistics, never worked with any of those systems that we've worked the 3 weeks, and don't feel afraid. You don't go there knowing everything, but take the most time to learn everything that get taught to you. For all those soldiers that haven't went through this course, I highly encouraged it.
Styling, wildin', living it up in the city. Got Chuck's on, what's ain't wrong? Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty. Too hot, I am. Call the police and the fireman. Too hot, there he is. I am. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. Too hot, I am. Come on, say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot, I am. And I'm bad about that money. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe it, just watch. Come on. All right now, I need this corner of the field to put your hands together. Aye. Oh, snap. Don't believe, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, wait a minute. Fill my cup. Ah, put some water in it. Hey, take a sip. Come on. Sign the check. Julio, get the stretch. Drive from Harlem, Hollywood, Jackson, Mississippi. If we show up, we're gonna show out. Smoother than a fresh start skippy. Oh, I'm too hot. I am. Call the police and the fireman. I'm too hot. I am. Make a dragon wanna retire, man. I'm too hot. I am. Oh, say my name, you know who I am. I'm too hot. I am. Oh, my band is bad with money. Hey, girls hit you, hallelujah. Come on, hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe it, just watch. Oh yeah, we're out here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Don't believe it, just watch. Yeah, it's okay. You can get up and groove a little bit. Come on, let me see. Don't believe it, just watch. 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 Hey, hey, hey. Oh, I know what time it is. You know what time it is? It's Uptown Funk time. You want to try it? You guys want to sing it with us? Can you guys sing it with us? Let me hear you say yeah. All right, here we go. Uptown, funk you up.
Uptown funk you up.
Now let me hear you. Up. Oh yeah. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. One more time. Yeah, now dance, jump on it. You sexy, then flaunt it. If you freak, yeah, then own it. Saturday in the spot. Yeah. Well, don't believe it, just watch.
Come on, y'all. I know it's hot out there. It's time to get hotter. Hey!
Don't believe it, just watch. 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 Hey, hey, hey. Oh! Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up.
All right, y'all.
Funk you up. Uptown funk you up.
Here we go.
Funk you up. Say what? Uptown funk you up.
Come on. Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up.
Let me hear you up here.
Uptown funk you up. There you go, right there. I see you.
Let me hear you in the back.
Uptown funk you up. Uptown funk you up.
Say what? Oh yeah. That's Sergeant First Class Eric Tue from the island of American Samoa. Give it up. That's the Rock's cousin. You guys understand that? It's the Rock's cousin. Okay?
It's my uncle.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right, so you guys getting this? You guys can have a little bit of fun during this pre-show, okay? It's okay to have fun. Stand up, dance, okay? You got permission. You got permission. We can dance a little bit.
Yeah, I need to get up.
Come on.
I need to get up. Holding me back. Gravity's holding
There we go.
me back. I want you to hold up and call me in. Why don't we leave it at that? Nothing to say when everything gets in the way. Seems you cannot be replaced, and I'm the one who pays. Oh, in this world, it's just us. Here we go. I need your help.
Come on, sing it.
It's not the same as it was.
That was pretty good.
In this world, it's your turn right here. Let's go.
1, 2.
As it was, as it was, as it was. Let's go. Take it away, Chris.
Well, answer the phone. Harry, you're no good alone.
I like that over.
Why are you sitting at home on the floor? What kind of things have you done? Ringing the bell, and nobody's coming to help.
There you go.
Your daddy is by himself. Oh, it just wants to know that you're well. Oh, in this world, it's just us. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3. In this world, it's just. Let me hear everybody.
Here we go.
Sing. Come on, people. Oh, as it was. Oh, as it was. You know it's not the same. Well, go home, get ahead. Life's speeding. I don't want to talk about the way that it was. Leave America, 2 kids follow her. I don't want to talk about us doing the thing.
I like you guys. I like you guys over here.
Oh, as it was. You know it's not the same as it was. As it was. As it was. Woo. Oh yeah! There we go. I think you guys are starting to get it. We're not here for a very long time. We're here for a good time, right? So if you guys are here for a good time, can I hear you say yeah? All right, now let me hear this side. If you guys are here for a good time, let me hear you say, oh yeah. And if you guys are here for a good time over here, let me hear you say, whoo yeah.
All right.
Okay. I think we got him.
They ain't worried about the heat. I don't know who idea it is performing this stuff. Come on.
If you don't want to see me,
All right now.
did a full 180. Crazy. Thinking about the way I was. Did the heartbreak change me? Maybe. But look at where I ended up. I'm all good already, so moved on. It's scary. I'm not where you left me at all. So if you don't want to see me dancing with somebody, right here, you might go right here. If you wanna believe that anything can stop me, y'all are too chill like that. You get crazy. Don't show up. Don't come out like that. Don't start caring about me now. Yeah, this guy. Walk away. You know how. Don't start caring about me now. Aren't you the guy who tried to hurt me with the words goodbye? Though it took some time to survive you, I'm better on the other side. I'm all good already.
All right,
so
y'all. I see
moved
y'all
on.
here.
It's scary. I'm not where you left me at all. So if you don't want to see me dancing with somebody, get on his level. Get on his level right there. All right. If you wanna believe that anything can stop me, don't show up. Don't come out. Don't start caring about me now. Walk away. You know how. Don't start caring about me now. You guys are way too chill right now. Give it up for the United I need States. More from you. I need more from you. Look at me. Don't start now. I'm not where you left me at all. All right, you guys. I need you to do me a favor. We're working real hard up here. If you're sitting down right now, there's a problem. I need you to get up. I need you to get up. Come on, get up. Come on, get up.
Yeah, we're gonna start over here.
Don't look at your friend. Just get up.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
You want to do a wave competition?
Oh, I think we can
Your
do that.
Your side versus mine. Who's got the best wave? Starting from here. Here we go. Yeah, they need a little bit of work.
We're going to come back to that.
All right.
We're going to come back to that.
All right.
We're going to go back to that. Come on.
We're gonna jump. 1, 2, 3, go. If you don't wanna see me dancing with somebody, come on. If you wanna believe that anything can stop me, if you don't wanna see me dancing with somebody, if you wanna believe that anything can stop me. We can get down over here too. We can get down. I know you.
Okay. So here's the deal. There was like this wave thing that kind of happened over here.
It was a wave. It was a wave. Not a kind of.
You know, it's like May. What are you guys going to do in July if you can't do this in May?
Oh, May.
Okay. It's going to be. All right. So this is what we're going to do. Competition. All the way to the center section. This side's going to do the wave and be as loud as humanly possible.
That's you too.
Are you guys ready?
Oh,
I
she's
said,
ready.
are you guys ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go!
That was so
It's
there.
not over. It's not over yet.
The energy's kind
It's
of
not
low,
over
but
yet.
how about we fight back? We're here.
It was a long flight. Okay.
I saw him. He didn't run with y'all. So with my profile, I'm gonna run. Starting from here. 3, 2, 1.
That's why I picked the middle, so I don't have to run.
We are the champions.
Down, get on down.
Y'all ready to boogie?
Boogie down, down,
Come on.
get on down. The boogie down, down,
It's a little old
get
school.
on down.
Oldie but goodie. Let's go.
Boogie down.
groove tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Share the spice of life. Share the spice of life.
That's one pioneers.
We're gonna groove tonight. Come on. Let this groove light up your fuse. It's alright, alright, alright.
It's a little high.
Let this groove turn in your shoes and stand up. Alright, alright.
Oh, y'all got you up.
Let me tell you
What you can do with my love. Alright. Let you know, girl, you're looking good. You're out of sight. Alright.
prove yourself.
Like I can set and lose yourself in the sky. Clouds in the heaven, yeah. All right. Let me tell you what you can do with my love. All right. Gotta let you know, girl, you're looking good. You're out of sight. Out of sight. All right. Let's tell the DJ to play your favorite song. Love is okay. It's happening now.
Let's groove, light up the fuse. It's alright, alright. Let's groove, take in your shoes and stand up. Alright, alright.
Put your hands together, let's go! Hey! Like I said, it's a oldie but a goodie.
You will find peace of mind on the floor. Take a little time, come with me and see a little sign. Oh, I'll be there after a while if you are my love. We can boogie on down, oh down, boogie on down, down,
Boogie on down,
down, down,
down,
down,
boogie on down,
down. See, this is initiative.
on down,
This right here is
yeah.
initiative.
Share the spice of life. Baby, spice of life.
That's great.
I like this
Just a little
one.
something.
Gonna groove tonight.
Hey!
US Army Blues! Put your hands together!
All right now.
Come on, come on, come on!
Let's groove. Light up the fuse. It's alright, alright, alright. Let us groove. Take in your shoes and stand up. Alright, alright. Let us groove. Light up your fuse. It's alright, alright. Let us groove. Take in your shoes and stand up. Alright, alright.
That's right! You know, I never properly introduced Staff Sergeant Melinda Rodriguez from Miami, Florida. All right, so on the count of three, I want you to yell out where you're from. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo. I know we have a lot of
Ohio?
Ohio.
Yeah, I thought I heard Ohio.
Yeah. We have some Michigan.
Even dream high in the quiet of the night, you know that I caught it. Bad, bad boy, shiny toy with a price, you know that I bought it. Killing me soon out the window, always waiting for you to be waiting below. Devils roll the dice, angels roll the eyes. What doesn't kill me makes me want you more. And it's you, shape of your body, it's blue. The feeling I got it, it's you. Oh, oh, oh. cruel summer. It's true. That's what I tell them. No rules. Breakable heaven. It's a cruel summer with you. And your head low in the glow of the vending machine. I'm not dying. We'll say that we'll just screw it up in these trying times. We're not trying. Cut the headline. Summer's a night. I'm always waiting for you just to cut to the bone. Devils roll the dice. Guys roll their eyes. And you know it, bleed. You'll be the last to go. Oh, it's you. Shake me on my feeling it's it's a cruel summer. It's true. That's what I tell them. No rules. Breakable heaven. It's a cruel summer. Tell me. I'm gone in the back of the car, and I cry like a baby coming home from the bar. Oh, say I'm fine, but it wasn't true. I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. And I snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate. Oh, I scream for whatever goes. I love you, ain't that the worst thing you ever heard? He looks so pretty like a devil. It's you. Shake your body, it's blue. Feeling I got it, it's ooh. Let's go. It's a cruel summer. It's true. That's what I tell them. No rules. Breakable heaven. It's a cruel summer. Here we go. I'm gone in the back of the car, and I cry like a baby coming home from the bar. Yeah, you. I'm fine, but it wasn't true. I don't want to keep secrets just to keep you. And I snuck in through the garden gate every night that summer just to seal my fate. Oh, and I scream for whatever it's worth. I love you, ain't that the worst thing you ever heard?
Oh yeah, you guys having a good time?
Cruel summer with you, 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 with you. It's a cruel